This story tells of a young white-haired youth who discovered his cultivation abilities. Not long ago, unscrupulous people dumped nuclear waste into the sea on this world, which led to the mutation of a large number of marine organisms. The Hero Association sent two S-class heroes to the scene, and the incident was broadcast live on the radio. The sea creatures became aggressive, they jumped out of the water and tried to attack the heroes. A hero, Nimble Man, came to deal with this situation. He believed that these people had no shame or conscience. He did not understand how much nuclear emissions were released to create so many mutated creatures. Nimble Man went into battle. He used his power to repel the creatures' attacks. He threw lightning bolts at the mutated fish. The hero did not have much success. There were more and more creatures. There was no end to them. The mutated fish flew straight towards Nimble Man. The hero was confident in his abilities. He was going to deal with them all in one go. The man began to use his superpowers. Nimble Man decided to use the lightning-fast technique, the sea tornado. In his hands he created two blue whirlwinds. The next moment, they transformed into a huge tornado, which sucked all the aggressive sea creatures inside it. Nimble Man's battle with sea creatures was broadcast live, anyone could watch it. The hero's exploits were observed by Zhou Shuntian, who had no superpowers. At this time he was at school. The guy admired the hero's strength. The guy recognized the place where the battle was held. It was located not far from the sea. Zhou Shuntian wanted to sneak out of class and take a look at it. In this world, superpowers were everywhere and heroes were revered by all residents. Their images hung on billboards. People thanked the heroes for their exploits. And those who do not have superpowers could only stay in guarded premises under the jurisdiction of the world government. This was the main character. The guy finally decided to try to escape from school. He managed to go outside unnoticed. He ran as fast as he could to get there on time. The guy wanted to get the superhero's autograph. The nuclear power plant base was located underwater at great depths. It was a large, guarded building. There was another hero underwater. It was a girl. She was transmitting information via communication. The girl had already finished. She asked if they had found the source of the pollution. The girl was an S-class hero and the president of the Hero Association. She was called the Water Witch. She almost arrived at the place and asked to wait another 2 minutes. At the base of the nuclear power plant, employees were watching the girl on a surveillance camera. They saw that someone was approaching the territory at high speed. One of the men was very angry. He did not understand how they found this place. It was the same people who dumped the waste into the sea. This nuclear plant was built on the seabed at a depth of 5,000 meters. The man was sure that no one could get in here. At that moment a loud explosion was heard. A hole has appeared in the wall of the nuclear power plant. Brick shards scattered everywhere. The culprit of the explosion was a water witch. The girl went inside the nuclear base through a hole in the wall. She finally found what she was looking for. The men did not expect such an uninvited guest. After looking at the girl, they realized from her appearance that she was a water witch. The girl asked how they dared to create disturbances on her territory. The water witch was determined to destroy the entire base and its employees. She began to use her superpowers and scattered the men around the room. The water witch received a call from a wireless television news anchor about superheroes. He heard that the water witch was looking for the source of pollution. The man asked what the situation was now. The water witch had just finished dealing with these people, so they called on time. The girl told them that she had found the plant. She was going to deal with the nuclear contamination later. At the plant, nuclear waste was stored in large glass containers. The water witch was very angry at the actions of those men and ordered me to force the girl to visit this place again. Otherwise, she guaranteed that next time they would be the first to suffer from the source of pollution. Zhou Shuntian was still watching the broadcast of the water witch's exploits now. He admired heroes and thought how good it was to have superpowers. The guy's monologue was heard by two passers-by. Seeing Zhou Shuntian's clothes, they immediately realized that he was from the animal husbandry school. The girl did not understand how pets could roam the street. She offered to teach him a lesson on behalf of the teacher. At this time, another hero was flying across the sky. It was a girl in beautiful white clothes. She was the mistress of the heavenly kingdom, Shi Wangmu. The girl asked what was happening in this world. Shi Wangmu considered all this abomination, and these people were simply terrible. She was sure that they were not worthy of her soul. The girl wondered when she would have a chance to restore her physical body. Shi Wangmu watched Zhou Shuntian's confrontation with two passers-by. The two glowed with energy, but Zhou Shantian did not. Shi Wangmu thought that she had just found the right vessel. A passing man thought that Zhou Shantian did not belong here. He called him a pet and told him to return to his shelter. The guy was not afraid of the enemy. He asked if the man had superpowers and if his teacher had given him too little homework. Zhou Shantian clenched his hands into fists. The guy didn't take into account that these clothes were too conspicuous. Shi Wangmu liked the way the guy behaved, even in the face of oppression by the powers that be. He did not admit defeat at all. The girl thought that he had the same noble soul as hers. Shi Wangmu was going to inhabit the guy's body. She wanted to see if he was worthy of accepting the mistress of the heavenly kingdom. Shi Wangmu thought that this child is good, and even in the face of the oppression of the powerful, he does not admit defeat at all. It seemed to the girl that Zhou Shantian was the same noble soul as her. The girl was ready to move into him. She was going to check whether Zhou Shantian was worthy to accept her. And these two people were going to use their superpowers to teach the guy a lesson. They thought Zhou Shantian was arrogant. These people tied Zhou Shantian to a tree with their magical powers. The guy shouted at them to let him go, because their actions had already crossed the line. The girl asked Zhou Shantian not to look at her. She felt ashamed that they were bullying a defenseless child. The man said that he had recently learned a new technique and was going to try it on Zhou Shantian. The guy was scared and thought that he should just ignore the two. At that moment, the man, with his super strength, hit the tree to which Zhou Shantian was tied and told him to listen to his command. Power permeated the tree from roots to leaves. The man's strength prompted the mysterious creature. It asked who disturbed the king's peace. The man achieved his goal. He laughed and was glad that his plan worked. Zhou Shantian asked what he did. The man was going to force the entire forest to obey him. He was very proud of himself. Behind him, a huge hand of the creature reached out towards him. This huge monster grabbed a man in one hand and a girl in the other. She asked what the man called. Everyone was very scared. This incident helped Zhou Shantian get out. The man summoned an S-class monster, the king of the forest. The creature screamed. It needed strength. The girl asked to do something with him. The monster pinned the man in his hand and began to suck all the energy out of him. The monster absorbed the energy that it sucked out of the man. However, this was not enough for the monster. His eyes lit up and he was going to do the same to the girl. The monster screamed that this power was not enough for him to fill the gaps. He threw the girl's body away and turned his attention to Zhou Shantian, who was sitting on the ground in fear. The guy tried to calm down and hoped that the hero would soon come to his aid. The monster realized that Zhou Shantian had no superpowers. He didn't understand what the guy was doing here in this case, because it was a bad omen. Zhou Shantian got angry. He told the monster not to look down on him and his powers are just slowly awakening. When the guy has them, he will kill the monster in a matter of seconds. The monster was amused by Zhou Shantian's confidence. He laughed. The creature had not heard such loud words from insects like the guy for a long time. He lifted Zhou Shantian by the scruff of the neck. At that moment, a paper with a spell flew out of nowhere. It was shrouded in superpower. The spell landed right on the monster. It exploded, and damaged his arm. The monster screamed in agony and let Zhou Shantian out of his grasp. Zhou Shantian landed on the ground. He was in great pain from the fall, and almost broke his bones. At this moment, a girl descended from the sky. It was probably she who saved Zhou Shantian. The girl's name was Qing Meng. She was from the east and belonged to the 66th generation of Taoism. She asked if Zhou Shantian was okay. At this time, in the city of Mirage, at the headquarters of the Hero Association, there was some kind of commotion. And at the headquarters all the security systems went off. They noticed that a strong energy reaction had occurred in the area of Mount Wudong. One of the hero girls asked which heroes could be summoned right now. Her assistant replied that most of the S-class heroes are now on missions. The Bright Star hero is already on his way back. The girl realized that now there are only A-class heroes in the city. She asked where Nimble Man and the president were now. It seemed to her that they were on a mission in the nearby sea. The assistant explained that after Nimble Man finished his assignment, he went straight to the Windy City, and the president was completing his investigation into the nuclear waste incident and would return in 3 days. The girl was surprised that the president would be away for so long. She did not understand what to do in this situation. The girl got angry and said that in 3 days their headquarters would be destroyed. The girl ordered to immediately gather all A-rank heroes in the city and establish a perimeter to ensure the safety of citizens as a priority. Qin Meng walked up to Zhou Shantian and asked if the guy was okay. With a worried look, he already thought that he was finished, but he was saved. Zhou Shantian looked at the girl with joy. The girl was very beautiful and the guy asked if the power of fire was available. The girl thought that for interfering she would be punished again at home. Zhou Shantian was mistaken. Qin Meng does not use superpowers. The Taoist talisman helped her defeat the monster. The guy picked up the talisman. He was surprised, because it was the first time he had seen such a thing. At that moment the monster woke up. He was not yet completely defeated. The king of the forest growled fiercely. The guys looked at him in fear. The king of the forest instantly restored his damaged hand. He was very serious about dealing with the girl. He extended his huge hand towards her and was about to force her to bow before the monster. Qin Meng ordered Zhou Shantian to stand behind her. The girl was going to use the power of the Taoist talisman again to fight the monster. She threw the talisman with the spell at the king of the forest and there was a loud explosion. However, the monster was not defeated. Its branches were heading straight towards the girl. He was going to attack her. Zhou Shantian said that it was useless. No matter how many times she continued to attack, they all separated. Realizing that the monster could not be defeated with talismans alone, Qin Meng began to use the technique. She turned to the great emperor and asked him to grant protection. Qin Meng used the indestructible barrier technique. A magic circle appeared around the guys, which was supposed to protect them. The girl told Zhou Shantian to come closer to her and not move. A protective dome appeared above them. The monster could not break through it. The king of the forest could not understand why, despite all his attacks, the guys were still alive. Zhou Shantian was very happy. He exclaimed that these Taoist amulets are simply amazing. Zhou Shantian asked the monster if he was really S-class. If that was all he could do, the guy believed that they could defeat him even without a hero of the appropriate rank. These words angered the king of the forest even more, and he told Zhou Shantian not to become arrogant. The monster decided to use all his power as the king of the forest. Everything in this forest obeyed him. He growled savagely. Zhou Shuantian's jaw dropped when he saw the monster's true abilities, only realizing that he had not fought with his full strength before. Qin Meng said that her amulets can only protect against normal attacks, but if this vine hits them, then something bad will happen. The guys decided that the best option would be to try to escape from danger. At this moment, the monster tried with all his strength to hit the guys with his hole. They managed to jump, but it looked like he hit the girl. The guys fell to the ground, and a monster came towards them from the vine. At that moment another girl appeared nearby. She thought that this guy was very weak. The monster finally caught the guys. He held them with his hand and raised them to the level of his face. The king of the forest grabbed them with his huge hand. Now the guys could not get out of the clutches of the monster. The monster began to drain the life energy from Qin Meng, and the girl had a terrible feeling while doing this. She couldn't believe that she would die right here, in such an inconspicuous place. At this moment, Zhou Shuantian's consciousness moved to some unusual place. He heard a voice that said that he was giving up early. The guy didn't understand who was talking to him. He lay with his eyes closed. Zhou Shantian woke up. His head was pounding. He didn't understand what this place was. Well, this guy's place was moved by Shi Wangmu. She said that the guy has a talent for cultivation. He should try to become immortal under her guidance. Shi Wangmu said that she is the one who will help Zhou Shantian get out of this problem. Shi Wangmu asked what Zhou Shantian thought about this. The guy asked if the girl could defeat that monster. She replied that of course she could. As soon as the guy allowed her to enter his body to teach Zhou Shantian cultivation, in this case, the guy can become immortal. Zhou Shantian felt that she did not look like an evil creature. The guy did not immediately believe Shi Wangmu. He asked how the girl would prove that cultivation would make him stronger. First, he wanted to see if she could defeat that monster. Shi Wangmu was furious that Zhou Shantian dared to doubt her, and if she did not need to restore her physical body, she would have killed him alive. The girl kept a straight face and explained that cultivation offers many benefits. Zhou Shantian still looked at Shi Wangmu in disbelief. He asked what benefits the girl was talking about. Shi Wangmu claimed that cultivation purifies and calms the mind and will also allow Zhou Shantian to live for 1,000 years, in which case he will have plenty of time to study the world and the true meaning of everything. Zhou Shantian thought that the phrase about 1,000 years sounded ridiculous, and even if it was true, he had no reason to live that long. However, this was not the end. the guy will be able to control natural elements and also move mountains and divide seas. The power to create or destroy the world will be in the hands of Zhou Shantian. The girl hit the guy with the ball with all her strength. She called him stupid. Zhou Shantian just needed to open her mind, in which case Shi Wangmu would come in and share his power. Zhou Shantian didn't understand what to do. Because of his weakness, this girl might die. He thought it was worth taking a risk and letting Shi Wangmu enter his body. The guy decided to agree to the girl's proposal. He asked how he could let So Wangmu in. The guy just had to relax his body and calm down, and not resist the entry of Shi Wangmu's soul. Zhou Shantian replied that he would do it without any problems. He was ready to do anything if she helped deal with the monster. At this time, the king of the forest had already dealt with Qing Meng. He was about to do the same with Zhou Shantian. The monster laughed and said that this pathetic little man said so boldly that he would stop him, but Maxim he would be able to do this in his next life. At this time, Zhou Shuentian's body was taken over by Shi Wangmu. The guy managed to let the girl into his body. Zhou Shuentian's body lit up with red energy. He was ready to kill the monster right now with the power of Shi Wangmu. The king of the forest believed that this was impossible, because he had to absorb Zhou Shuentian's energy. Zhou Shantian glared at him. He was ready to use his new strength to fight him. Zhou Shantian created a red ball and told the monster to die. The king of the forest could not move. The king of the forest instantly burned in the fire created by the guy. He screamed loudly. Zhou Shantian was still casting magic. Everything around was red. Shi Wangmu believed that even 10% of her strength would seem incredible to the guy. She had a plan for revenge. Zhou Shantian landed on the ground. He didn't understand where this monster had gone. The guy was confused. It seemed that he had come to his senses. Shi Wangmu replied that the king of the forest was absorbed into Zhou Shuentian's body. The girl said that once the guy starts practicing her technique, he will be able to increase his strength. A plane landed at a Shanghai city school for the unawakened and people filled it. The school evacuated the students, but the association had already sent heroes to protect them. One of the guys wondered where Zhou Shantian was. The other said that he most likely slipped away. In the vicinity of the school, superheroes fought with monsters in the forest. The 12th ranked superhero, Fire Executioner, took part in this. He used the Phoenix Condescension technique to defeat these monsters. A fierce flame appeared and enveloped all the creatures. There was another hero on the battlefield. He had a fierce look and kept a cigarette in his mouth during the battle. It was an A-rank superhero, the 10th ranked Lightning Blade. He used his abilities. The Fire Executioner was bored and wanted to fight the king of the forest. Lightning Blade thought they were too tough to handle. At this moment, something strange began to happen to the monsters. They stopped attacking the guys. All the creatures immediately headed into the depths of the forest. The Fire Executioner realized that the king of the forest was probably defeated. All these monsters ran straight to Zhou Shantian. He did not understand what to do with them. The guy decided to use his power again. He extended his hand. However, nothing worked for him. There was no reaction at all. Shi Wangmu explained that the first time he succeeded only with her help. The guy needed more training. The girl replied that the guy should run faster. He picked up that girl and ran away from the monsters. Lightning flashed in the sky. A terrible thunderstorm began in the forest. Someone was flying across this wild sky. He was trying to get to his destination faster. It was the S-rank hero Bright Star, and he was in a hurry. At this time, Chen Xingxuan, the daughter of Nimble Man, was looking for her bracelet in the forest. She wanted to check if her superpowers were restored. At that moment, a bunch of monsters ran straight towards her. The girl looked at them in surprise and became numb. She was scared. The girl didn't understand where these monsters were coming from. Chen Xingyuan began to run away from them. She shouted at them not to come closer. Chen Xingxuan was very active in running away from danger. She did not understand why she was so unlucky today. The girl ran as fast as she could from the monsters, trying to save her life. Chen Xingxuan deftly jumped over the obstacles. She really hoped that she would not die there. At this moment, Chen Xingxuan ran straight into Zhou Shantian, who was carrying Qing Meng on his shoulders. The guy was very surprised. Chen Xingxuan ordered the guys to move out of the way, because she was trying to run away quickly. Chen Xingxuan was unable to brake in time and crashed into Zhou Shantian at high speed. Chen Xingxuan knocked the guys to the ground and lay right on top of them. Zhou Shantian was in pain from the fall. However, His soul was warmed by the fact that Chen Xingxuan was lying directly on him with her chest. He really liked this feeling. He thought that he was in heaven. The girl apologized. She didn't think there would be anyone here besides her. Zhou Shantian said that there is no time to talk. They are surrounded. Zhou Shantian believed that since Chen Xingxuan was alone in this wilderness, she was awakened. He ordered to use his superpowers to escape from a bunch of monsters that surrounded the guys. Chen Xingxuan said that she was awakened, but she lost her bracelet. Zhou Shantian didn't know that there were abilities that needed additional equipment to use. Zhou Shantian doubted the veracity of Chen Xingxuan's words. He asked if she would definitely be able to kill these monsters with her bracelet. The girl got angry. She said that it was true, and as soon as she found the bracelet, she would kill these monsters in seconds. The guy said that it was too difficult to look for her bracelet here, like a needle in a haystack. He put Qing Meng on the ground. The guy turned around and said that they were surrounded by monsters. Zhou Shantian told Chen Xingxuan to take Qing Meng with him while he was going to take care of these monsters. At that moment, on one of the monsters, Zhou Shantian saw a bracelet similar to the one that Chen Xingxuan was looking for. Chen Xingxuan replied that it was her bracelet, and it was not surprising that she could not find it because the monster had it. Zhou Shantian was going to trust the girl. He hoped that she would actually be able to kill the monsters in seconds. Zhou Shantian ran straight towards the monsters. He engaged them in hand-to-hand combat to take away the bracelet. The guy's strength was already running out. He took the bracelet from the monster and threw it to the girl. He told her to act. The monster had already swallowed the guy completely. It wrapped its branches around Zhou Shantian, who asked for help. Chen Xingxuan put the bracelet on her hand. She told the guy not to worry, because now they are safe. She said that now the guy will see what she is capable of. She instantly lifted all the monsters into the air with her powers. Chen Xingxuan was about to blow them all up in the air. She snapped her fingers. A loud explosion was heard. All the monsters were defeated. Zhou Shantian watched in surprise at the girl's strength. The guy was amazed. He really liked Chen Xingxuan's strength. He thought it was very similar to a fireworks explosion. At this moment, new monsters ran up to the scene. Zhou Shantian did not understand where so many creatures came from. They furiously ran towards the guys. Chen Xingxuan was very confident in her abilities. She was going to turn all these monsters into dust. The girl used her powers again. Many explosions were heard in the forest. Now the monsters were definitely defeated. The dust cleared. The bodies of monsters lay around the guys. Zhou Shantian believed that her powers were incredible, and it was very powerful. Zhou Shantian reached for the girl's bracelet. He asked what kind of device it was and whether he could do the same if he put it on. The girl was embarrassed and said not to even think about it. It was created especially for her and ordinary people cannot use it. Chen Xingxuan was not feeling very well. At that moment, the guys felt an earthquake. It was so strong that they could not stand on their feet. Zhou Shantian didn't understand what was happening. The next moment, the ground under Zhou Shuantian's feet began to crack, and Zhou Shantian fell into the cracks between the stones. The two of the guys fell underground. They screamed as they flew along with the stones. The two of the guys fell underground. They screamed as they flew along with the stones. At that moment, someone came to the guys' aid. He sent his Taoist amulets towards them, along with his power. Their savior was Dongfang Chaoshu, Qingmeng's father. He asked why his daughter didn't listen to him. Trying to help the guys, he used the levitation technique. Dongfang Chaoshu directed his power upward. The guys instantly rose from the holes in the ground. They were floating in the air thanks to the man's strength. As he lowered his daughter to the ground, Dongfang Chaoshu asked if she had forgotten the rules of their family. At the main headquarters of the Heroic Association, the commotion still did not subside. Tina was surprised that the source of energy had disappeared. The girl thought that one of the heroes had defeated the king of the forest. Her assistant noticed that they had not received any reports. The girl thought that perhaps the monster had disappeared. She ordered a research team to be sent immediately and not to relax until they found the remains of the king of the forest. Meanwhile, in the forest, the research group was searching. They did not understand which S-class hero killed this monster. At this moment, the researchers noticed Zhou Shantian and Chen Xingxuan, who were lying on the ground unconscious. They felt that these two civilians needed to be taken to the hospital. The research team took the guys to the main city hospital. At that moment, a girl was running along the hospital corridor. She had long blue hair that developed as she ran. The girl was very excited. She was in a hurry to find out how her brother was doing. The girl hoped that he was not injured. She didn't understand why her brother went into the forest. The girl was very beautiful. All the visitors to the hospital turned to look at her. The girl's path was stopped by two men. One of them asked if she had come to visit her brother. The men were very arrogant. They all did not let the girl in and asked her to stay with them. The girl was very angry, because she was in a hurry to get to her brother. The girl made a very pitiful face. Tears appeared in her eyes. She asked if the men were going to attack the defenseless girl. One of the men thought she was very cute and thought he was lucky today. He replied that they just wanted to chat with the girl. The next second, the girl punched the man in the chin with all her might and ordered them to get out of the way. The girl continued her way to the ward. She ran and sharply opened the door. There was a doctor in the room. He asked if she was related to the guy. The girl didn't have to worry. He was just a little overtired. Zhou Shantian was lying in the ward. The girl approached him and asked if he had such long hair. She was not sure that everything was fine with him. The doctor replied that the examination revealed nothing unusual, but the guy could stay for a couple of days if he wanted. The doctor had to go already. He told the girl to take care of her brother. She thanked the doctor. The girl sat down on a chair next to Zhou Shuantian's bed. She thought it was very strange that her brother ended up in the forest and returned unharmed. Zhou Shuantian's sister was very worried. If something happened to her brother, she would not ask herself. It was time for the girl to go to work, otherwise she would not be able to pay her hospital expenses. She thought it was very difficult to make money. Zhou Shantian still had not come to his senses. He was lying on the hospital bed all alone. At this moment, Shi Wangmu came down to him. She tried to wake up Zhou Shantian. It was time for him to wake up and start his training. Zhou Shantian didn't even understand where he was and where these girls were. Shi Wangmu told the guy not to worry about them. The girls are fine. Zhou Shantian looked around. He jumped out of bed and realized that he was in the hospital. The guy was surprised. He asked Shi Wangmu how long he had been out. The girl said about half a day. The guy thought that he needed to get out of the hospital. If he stayed here for a couple of days, it would cost him a lot of money. Zhou Shantian began to put his plans into action. The next day came. The sun was shining outside. The city was in full swing with life. The guy was lying on his bed. He understood that most likely the hospital sent the bills to his sister. The young man did not know what to say when she returned. The guy didn't know how much the hospital bill was, but he hoped his sister wouldn't be furious. Shi Wangmu's base appeared in front of the guy. She asked why he was lying down. Zhou Shantian was already time to start practicing the path of immortality. Shi Wangmu appeared in front of the guy again. She asked why he was lying down. It was time for Zhou Shantian to start practicing the path of immortality. Zhou Shantian jumped out of bed and said that he had killed an S-class monster and if he started cultivating, he would become a superhero. The guy thought that in this case his sister would not have to pay all the family expenses. Shi Wangmu touched the young man's flask. She used her power. The girl wanted to show him something. Shi Wangmu moved them to some magical place. There were stones flying in the air and there was a large temple. Zhou Shantian asked what kind of place this was. This was a space created by Shi Wangmu. Zhou Shantian was a beginner, so he needed to enter the qi condensation stage as soon as possible. Zhou Shantian didn't understand what the girl was talking about or what qi condensation was. There were 6 stages of cultivation: qi condensation, foundation creation, golden core formation, spiritual formation, soul emergence, and ascension. Once Zhou Shantian overcomes the ascension stage, he will become a true immortal. To move to the stage of qi condensation, the guy needs to try to absorb the energy of heaven and earth and fill his body with it. Zhou Shuantian's brain was already opening up from so much information. He didn't quite understand what Shi Wangmu was talking about. The girl noticed the guy's puzzled face. She realized that he didn't understand anything and began to explain everything again. Shi Wangmu ordered Zhou Shantian to sit in the lotus position. The guy obediently did it. Now Zhou Shantian had to close his eyes and feel the energy that was everywhere. It was qi energy. The guy had to absorb it into his body. Zhou Shantian tried it and it worked right away. The girl thought he was a genius with incredible talent. Zhou Shantian would become immortal in less than 100 years and would serve as an excellent vessel for Shi Wangmu. The girl remembered events from the past. The man said that it was time for Shi Wangmu to give up the title of the mistress of the heavenly kingdom. He said she oppressed them because they were men. They had had enough. The man's name was Zhuang Jinjuan. The girl said that he could not say that, because many themselves voluntarily obeyed her. Zhuang Jinjuan shouted that all this was not true and today he was going to carry out heavenly judgment. The man directed all his power toward Shi Wangmu, and it instantly reached the girl. She thought that this was very stupid because she is the mistress of the heavenly kingdom and its path, and she is the law here. Shi Wangmu repelled the attacks with ease. Shi Wangmu was angry at the men's disobedience. She believed that all rebels should die. The girl decided to carry out her will. She directed a large amount of lightning at the men. They screamed and ran away. One of the men told Zhuang Jinjuan that she had been a cultivator for millions of years and they were no match for her. The man was nervous, but said that he had foreseen these events. The men simply had to follow his plan. Shi Wangmu considered men to be worthless. They were not worthy of the level of the heavenly realm. A girl approached her from behind and she laughed. Heavenly Orchid told Shi Wangmu that there is no need to be so angry and these men are very annoying. She prepared her heavenly wine, which will increase her power. Shi Wangmu smiled. She thought it was very sweet of her. The girl was going to destroy men today and make the heavenly kingdom a world of women. Shi Wangmu happily drank the wine that the heavenly orchid prepared. At that moment, something strange began to happen to her body. Apparently there was some kind of curse in the wine and the girl was poisoned. The heavenly orchid approached Shi Wangmu, it touched her chest, and a projection of it flew out of the girl. The celestial orchid's expression changed in an instant, it became angry. The girl smiled. She said goodbye to Shi Wangmu. Shi Wangmu lost her physical body, strange things happened to her, and an astral projection flew out of her. At this moment, Zhuang Jinjuan threw the writing scroll at Shi Wangmu and shouted, "Now." This scroll opened, it began to absorb Shi Wangmu's soul, it slowly sucked in the girl. Shi Wangmu did not give up, she asked if they thought they could seal the girl with this artifact. Zhuang Jinjuan didn't think so, but they found another way to do it. He held the same artifact in his hands. The man was about to send Shi Wangmu into the abyss. He created a portal there. Zhua threw the scroll straight into the portal, it slowly circled around it. Shi Wangmu screamed something inaudibly. The scroll flew further and further into the abyss. It could no longer be returned. Since then, her soul has wandered through the abyss. After everything Shi Wangmu had to go through to get to this dimension, she would not miss the chance to restore her physical body. Fruitful work was in full swing at the main headquarters of the Hero Association. Tina and her assistant stood in front of a large hologram, a computer showing events in the world. The girl thought it was strange that the king of the forest had disappeared. He couldn't do it just like that. They were probably losing sight of something. At that moment, the assistant saw the hero, Bright Star, flying over the forest. She drew attention to him. The girl told Tina that she seemed to know who defeated the king of the forest and someone photographed the bright star near that place. It was probably him. Tina was very happy. The girl smiled and said that she always knew that the bright star was a real hero. The assistant asked if Tina had ever seen the face of a bright star. She was interested in what he looked like. However, the personal information of S-class heroes was top secret, and even she did not have access. However, Tina heard that he is very handsome, and also a good person, because the money he earns goes to support schools for the unawakened. She asked if we should introduce them. The assistant was embarrassed. She really liked the hero. She told Tina not to joke like that anymore. The assistant was surprised that she saw Chen Xingxuan on the list of victims compiled by the rescue team. Tina was very scared. She asked what the president's daughter was doing there, if she was okay. The aide said the recording showed she left the hospital and went home. The girl sighed with relief. They were lucky that the president was not there, and if something had happened to her daughter, she would have been furious. It was a clear sunny day outside. The city was in full swing with life. Zhou Xuantian's sister did not understand why her brother left the hospital. The girl returned home. She looked around her apartment. Her brother was nowhere to be found. The girl began to look for him. Sister Zhou Shantian came into his room. She opened the door and was surprised at what she saw. In the guy's room, things were flying everywhere. Driven by his power, Zhou Shantian was training to use his new abilities. The sister thought that her brother had finally awakened. She was very happy. Zhou Shantian said that this was so because the girl would not believe in cultivation, so the guy decided that the best way was to lie. The girl understood why Zhou Xuantian's hair became longer. He gained his ability. The guy laughed and asked if the girl would cut his hair. The girl was delighted. she just needed to bring scissors to fulfill the guy's request. The girl sat her brother down in a chair and began cutting off the hair on his head. The girl said that now that he has superpowers, he can transfer to a school for the awakened. Zhou Shantian replied that he had not recovered yet, and they were in no hurry. The girl replied that the sooner the better, it was close to her work, so the guy would be under supervision. The girl did not want today's events to ever be repeated. Zhou Shantian agreed with his sister. She continued to cut his hair. At this time, someone on the street loudly called Shi Wangmu. This person did not understand where she was. It was the heavenly immortal Taiban Xingjuan. He shouted that this dimension was too big and did not understand how to look for the girl. He was a supporter of Shi Wangmu. The man believed that all her offenders deserved death, and the beautiful, graceful Shi Wangmu was worthy of the title of Lady of the Heavenly Kingdom. The man looked like a homeless madman. He shouted in the middle of the street that when he brought the girl back, he would torture Zhuiyang Jinjuan for hundreds of thousands of years. The man had a golden compass in his hands. At that second it began to spin. Taiban was very happy that his compass was finally working. He was very glad that Shi Wangmu was in this city, because the man had been wandering in the mountains for too long. He cried with happiness. The Taoist temple on Mount Wudong was calm and peaceful. It was a clear sunny day outside. Light was shining through the windows of the temple. Lying on the bed in the temple was Qing Meng. Her father was sitting next to her. The girl just woke up. She didn't understand why she was at home. Dongfang Chaoxiu was drinking tea at this time. He asked if his daughter had woken up. Qing Meng asked his father what happened to the guy who was with her. The girl was talking about Zhou Shantian. Dongfang Chaoxiu was furious. He asked how dare she ask about this. If he had not arrived in time, the girl would have been sent to the hospital. Taoists have been hiding from the outside world for many years, but because of Qing Meng's actions, they were almost exposed. The girl was depressed. She apologized to her father and admitted that she had acted rashly. Dongfang Chaoxiu said that it was good that she was creating her own mistake. He told her to never contact strangers again. The man said that the boy was found by the rescue team and Qing Meng should not worry about him. The man had already taken the ancient scriptures that the girl had borrowed. He came up with a punishment for her. Qing Meng felt guilty for what happened. She agreed to carry out this punishment. The world in which the characters lived was never fair. Zhou Shantian thought about this while he brushed his teeth. Some people born into a family of heroes inherit the abilities of both parents, thus becoming even stronger. And there are orphans, like Zhou Shantian and his sister, without any superpowers, and they were helpless, and desperately needed the help of heroes. Zhou Shantian became obsessed with superheroes, constantly watching them on live broadcasts and admiring their courage. Zhou Shantian hoped that he would awaken to become just like them. Now for the guy this is not just a dream. With the help of the method of cultivating immortality, he got a chance to change his life. The guy came to the academy for the awakened. He saw students of this academy near the building. They all had different superpowers. Zhou Shantian was happy. He mentally said goodbye to his former classmates. Now he became a student at this academy, but the guy was going to visit them. Zhou Shantian held the map of the academy. He found the new recruits registration area. Zhou Shantian walked into this building, and in front of him was a large magic ball. An academy employee asked the students to take a test of their abilities. It seems that this device measures the strength of awakening. Zhou Shantian didn't know whether he would discover his cultivation. At that moment, 2 cars were flying over the city, from which the entire city could be seen as if from a bird's eye view. Xingxuan was sitting in the car. She spoke via video link with the water witch. She instructed Dr. Sam to study the problems with restoring her strength. The girl agreed with her mother. She explained that yesterday there was an accident. Xingxuan was almost here, so her mother should not worry. The car landed. A crowd of people gathered around it. They joyfully greeted the car. Xingxuan got out of the car and greeted all the fans and wished them a good day. The entire crowd was crazy about the girl. It consisted mainly of men who were fans of Xingxuan. The men thought that the girl was very nice. She was not only beautiful, but very smart. Her grades were among the best. One of the men ordered everyone to move aside and not get in the way. He went for Xingxuan. He was Wang Zirong, the son of the richest man. He dreamed of making Xingxuan his girlfriend. When the guy inherited his father's property, she was supposed to become part of his harem. Zhou Shantian left the academy building. He breathed a sigh of relief, thought that he had passed everything. All that was left was to wait for the results. Zhou Shantian noticed Xingxuan on the street. He realized that this was the girl he met in the forest. The guy decided to say hello. Zhou Shantian ran towards the girl. Wang Jiron noticed this. It seemed to him that the guy was chasing Xingxuan. He was shocked. Wang Jiron ordered his men to stop him. One of the men was ready to do it. He said to rely on him. This man sent his water power towards Zhou Shuantian's foot. At this time, the guy was running behind Xingxuan. The next moment, the water force enveloped the guy. He found himself inside the bubble. Zhou Shantian didn't understand what was happening. The next moment, the water force enveloped the guy. He found himself inside the bubble. Zhou Shantian didn't understand what was happening. Zhou Shantian, being in the bubble, asked who they were and why they were using superpower on him. Wang Jiron ordered him to be released. Wang Zirong said that Zhou Shantian was quite brave to dare to pursue his future wife. Zhou Shantian didn't understand which future wife Wang Jiron was talking about. One of his men shouted that this was the girl the guy was following. Their boss liked Chen Xingxuan and everyone at school knows it. Zhou Shantian asked, so what if she ignores him? Then it's unrequited love. Another supporter of Wang Zirong explained who the guy was, and also explained the status of Chen Xingxuan. He believed that this couple was blessed by heaven itself. Wang Jiron liked the man's words and decided to reward him with a wad of money. His man was delighted and gratefully accepted this award. He told Zhou Shantian to apologize to their boss and swear to never get close to Chen Xingxuan again. Zhou Shantian got angry and asked what would happen if he didn't do this. All of Wang Jiron's people instantly changed their appearance. They began to use their strength. A crowd gathered around the guys. They thought Zhou Shantian was a fool for provoking Wang Jiron. They asked if he was new. Wang Jiron ordered 3 of his men to deal with him. The one who was first would receive a bonus, a weekend at the boss's villa. One of Wang Jiron's men was the first to go into battle. He really wanted to receive the reward. Everyone else followed him into battle. The man with the power of water began to use it again. The other guy had the power of an enhanced fist. Zhou Shantian tried to dodge their blows. After absorbing the spiritual energy, Zhou Shuantian's body became very light and he became very agile. Zhou Shantian dodged the blow. He saw another person flying towards him from the sky. He grabbed the guy by the jacket and lifted him into the sky. This man had wings. He laughed evilly and said that now the guy would feel his power. He threw the guy from a bird's eye view to the ground with all his strength. Zhou Shantian hit the ground, dust rose around him, and the asphalt cracked. Zhou Shantian survived. He used energy to protect himself, otherwise he would not have survived. This man was very surprised that Zhou Shantian remained unharmed. He believed that this was impossible. The guys haven't seen him use superpowers other than his speed and agility. Wang Zirong was also surprised that he remained intact after falling from a height. He might have the ability to strengthen his body. Shi Wangmu appeared in front of Zhou Shantian and said that it was not bad. He was a fast learner. Zhou Shantian said that this is a very rare opportunity and he wants to find out which is stronger, superpowers or cultivation. Shi Wangmu thought why not show the guy the difference between cultivation and this abomination, superpowers. Shi Wangmu pointed at the energy emanating from the guys. The guy had to sense it as spiritual energy and try to control it. Zhou Shantian told the men not to waste his time and attack all at once. The man with wings was very angry. He was surprised by the guy's impudence. The man with the power of water was furious. He dreamed of finishing him off quickly in order to receive a reward. The third man felt the same as his friends. He was about to attack Zhou Shantian. All 3 of them immediately rushed to attack using their powers. In their opinion, Zhou Shantian would regret it. All 3 immediately rushed to attack using their powers. In their opinion, Zhou Shantian will regret this. Zhou Shantian was going to use his cultivation power to defeat them. He absorbed the energy of one of the men and used his power to lift the 3 of them into the air. The man didn't understand why the guy was using his superpower. Zhou Shantian also didn't really understand how he did it. He asked the teacher to explain it. Shi Wangmu explained that superpowers use your body's energy to influence your surroundings, just like a magnet. Self-improvement works by using your consciousness to control the things around you. Zhou Shantian thought this was amazing. He asked if this meant that he was stronger than all the people here. Shi Wangmu explained that this is not so, and the materialization of consciousness requires a lot of spiritual energy and now the guy's capabilities are extremely small. Zhou Shantian defeated those 3 men. As the crowd looked at them, he asked who else wanted to fight him. People from the crowd started shouting that this was just amazing and he defeated people with superpowers so easily. One of the men said that he had heard about the guy before, perhaps he is the secret son of an S-class hero. Wang Jiron became angry and said that Zhou Shantian was very strong, but he demanded that he immediately apologize to him and break off relations with Chen Xingxuan. Otherwise, he was going to make Zhou Shantian regret coming to this school. He had a technique, the eye of the future. Zhou Shantian said that these were his words. He began to use his cultivation. At that moment, someone appeared and stopped their fight. It was Chen Xingxuan. She said that fighting using abilities is prohibited on school grounds. Chen Xingxuan recognized Zhou Shantian. She thought that he had no superpowers. Xingxuan told Wang Jiron that bullying those without special characteristics is prohibited and today she will call his parents. Wang Zirong said that it couldn't be that Zhou Shantian didn't have superpowers. Zhou Shantian replied that he was right, and since the guy was new to school, he asked him to forget about this incident. Chen Xingxuan decided to turn a blind eye to this, since the guy knew that she was losing her superpowers. She ordered the rest to be taken to the school council to receive punishment. Chen Xingxuan told Zhou Shantian that he would go with her and took the guy's hand. Zhou Shantian was very surprised and asked where the girl was taking him. She replied that since the guy was new here, she would give him a tour. The girl led Zhou Shantian to the door of their academy's club room. Zhou Shantian was surprised. He asked what the girl was doing. Wasn't she going to show him everything? Chen Xingxuan said that they can talk about this later. Now there are much more important things. The girl was in a revealing outfit. Zhou Shantian was very embarrassed. Strange thoughts entered his head. Chen Xingxuan asked what he thought. The girl just wanted him not to tell anyone about what happened in the forest. Zhou Shantian didn't understand, because the girl was very cool in the forest. Why did she need to hide it? Zhou Shantian thought that Chen Xingxuan liked to stay in Tian. At that moment, the door to the club room opened. Standing right outside the door was Zhou Shantian. The door was opened by the guy who was looking for Zayuzli. The door was pushed open by Zhou Shantian. He fell straight onto Chen Xingxuan and kissed her. The guy's hand fell directly on the girl's chest. It turned out that he knocked her down. They fell and kissed. The next chapter talks about how the students of the student council system and the teachers are connected. One of the men showed this. Everyone was surprised by Zhou Shuantian's assessment in this system. The door was pushed open by Zhou Shantian. He fell straight onto Chen Xingxuan and kissed her. The guy's hand fell directly on the girl's chest. It turned out that he knocked her down. They fell and kissed. The guy who entered the club room couldn't find something. He looked around. At that moment, he saw Zhou Shantian and Chen Xingxuan lying on the floor. The guys were kissing. The guy was scared. He apologized for disturbing him, and ran away from the room. The guy was surprised that Chen Xingxuan was there with some guy. He thought it was a sensation and had to tell everyone. Chen Xingxuan became embarrassed and ordered Zhou Shantian to get off her. The guy began to make excuses that he didn't do it on purpose, it was just an accident. Chen Xingxuan said that she would kill Zhou Shantian if he told anyone about what happened here. Chen Xingxuan turned around and thought that she should become a guy. She couldn't let him walk around and gossip. Zhou Shantian stood in the room in a stupor. He thought it was amazing. Chen Xingxuan ran out in pursuit of that guy. She told him to stand still. Chen Xingxuan began to use her powers on the guy. She lifted him into the air. Chen Xingxuan with an angry look told him to forget about what he had just seen. The guy was scared. He asked for mercy. The guy had already forgotten everything. At this time, the door in the student council hall opened and someone entered. The man who was there apologized to Wang Jiron who came in. They could not do anything, since it was an order from the president. Wang Jiron said that this seemed to be true. The man offered his help if needed. Wang Jiron believed that the student council should be able to obtain a list of students who took the entrance test today. The man replied that this was true, and the student council's management system was connected to the education system. The man activated the system and showed Zhou Shuantian's profile. He had an S rank. Wang Jiron did not understand how this was possible. The device was probably malfunctioning, or he was cheating. His type of super strength was not analyzed, but the level of powers in his body was found to be extremely high. One of the guys realized that if he received such a rank, he would be assigned to the Chen Xingxuan class. Wang Jiron asked if they could manipulate the data. The man replied that he could not do anything. The the student council was only looking at these results. Wang Jiron became angry and thought that there were still many ways to throw him out. In this world it was a clear sunny day, the sun was shining, cars were driving along the highway. A rank hero, San Lan, was hunting for her target, Stark, a wanted criminal. She watched him from around the corner. Stark thought the scent of peace was disgusting. He stood with his men. He was very angry, he just wanted to destroy everything around him. The man decided that he needed to calm down, and now he has more important things to do than destruction. Stark noticed that there was something to the side. The man turned around. Stark thought that it looked like he was being followed, and so it was. San Lan was standing around the corner. At that moment a taxi pulled up to him. The driver smiled and asked if he needed a ride. Stark held the taxi with his hand. He was very angry. He approached the taxi driver, grabbed his head and asked how he dared talk to Stark. He was going to teach the man some manners, and began to use his power on him. Stark's tentacles reached out to the man, they wrapped around his head. Passers-by did not understand what this guy was doing with the taxi driver. They looked at them in surprise. San Lan asked all the passers-by to disperse. She was going to help the taxi driver. The girl ran up to the taxi driver, but did not see Stark next to the car. The taxi driver was already dead. The girl was angry that she had lost Stark and could not help the man. The taxi driver was already dead. The girl was angry that she had lost Stark and could not help the man. San Lan thought that Stark did it again. At this time he had already merged into a crowd. He smirked because he thought it was pathetic for an A-rank hero to want to catch him. At this time it was a clear sunny day outside. Clouds were slowly floating in the sky. Zhou Shuntian received the entrance exam results and was placed in the A-rank class. His sister Yun Shu will be very happy when she comes home and sees his results. In the meantime, Zhou Shuntian is free. He needs to use this opportunity for cultivation. He wanted to get to the qi purification stage. Zhou Shuntian began to train his cultivation abilities. He was very focused. He found it strange that he did not feel any qi energy. Shi Wangmu appeared next to Zhou Shuntian. She said that there is very little qi energy here, and yesterday the guy absorbed all the nearby qi in one fell swoop. If a guy wants to start cultivating, he needs to go to a place where nature is well preserved, like the forest he was in. The girl laughed and said that in fact, she had collected the qi that the guy absorbed yesterday in the forest in advance. Zhou Shuntian was surprised that all his abilities were deception, and the girl was using tricks. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on Zhou Shuntian's door. Zhou Shuntian thought that his sister must be at work. The guy did not understand who it could be. Taiban came to Zhou Shuntian's door. He was looking for Shi Wangmu using his compass. Zhou Shuntian opened the door and asked who the man was looking for. Taiban threw himself into Zhou Shuntian's arms and said that it was a miracle that he had finally found him. He called Zhou Shuntian Shi Wangmu. Zhou Shuntian got angry and demanded to let him go. He didn't know who the man was. Taiban still did not let him go. Then Zhou Shuntian kicked the man straight in the face. Zhou Shuntian apologized and said that it was the man himself who forced him to do this. At this moment, Shi Wangmu flew out. The man's voice seemed familiar to her. She asked what Taiban was doing here. Zhou Shuntian asked if the man was Shi Wangmu's friend. The girl replied that it could be said that way. At that moment, Taiban's soul flew out of his body and flew to Shi Wangmu, and he rushed into her arms. The girl told him to stop being such a crybaby. She asked her physical body was. The guy hurried into this world through a spatial portal to save the girl, and forgot how to return. Shi Wangmu angrily called him an idiot, because in that case there was no point in looking for her. The guy was going to help Zhou Shuntian in cultivation, because this way Shi Wangmu could restore her physical body. Shi Wangmu believed that with the Taiban pills, Zhou Shuntian's cultivation speed would increase very quickly. Their entire dialogue was in astral projections. Zhou Shuntian didn't understand why the noni looked at each other and didn't talk. Taiban noticed that Zhou Shuntian's house was quite large and beautiful. Zhou Shuntian didn't understand what he meant by this. Taiban hugged Zhou Shuntian and said that from now on they would be one family. Zhou Shuntian slammed the door. The guy would never allow Taiban to stay in his house. Taiban said that he would not stay here for free. He was going to prepare all the pills for cultivating Zhou Shuntian. Shi Wangmu said that Zhou Shuntian should let him stay, because Taiban would help the guy in cultivation. Zhou Shuntian replied that his sister would not agree. Taiban said that now Zhou Shantian would need about a year and a half to move to the qi purification stage, but his pills would allow him to do this immediately. Zhou Shantian did not believe Taiban, because his foundation was not stable now, and the guy wanted to give him a pill. The Taiban pill was supposed to help Zhou Shantian adjust his breathing and is suitable for beginners to take. Taiban also suggested that Zhou Shantian wear the Taoist robe, which is the highest spiritual treasure of their heavenly realm. Zhou Shantian agreed to accept this treasure and the pill, and he took it from Taiban. However, Zhou Shantian did not agree to let the man stay. He kicked Taiban out the door. Taiban did not understand where he was and where to go. He had nothing in this world. Shi Wangmu asked why the guy left Taiban outside. Zhou Shantian thought that his offerings were too cheap, so he should wait a little. An hour later, Zhou Shantian still allowed Taiban to stay. He had to sleep on the floor in Zhou Shuantian's room. Zhou Shantian told Taiban to never go near his sister's room. Zhou Shantian asked if this pill was really as effective as Taiban said. At this time he decided to take a bath. And Zhou Shantian was about to swallow the pill, but Shi Wangmu stopped him. The girl said that it was better to take it not here. The guy had to go into the forest and only with the blessing of spiritual energy the effect of the pill would be maximum. Zhou Shantian said that the bus to Wudang Mountain does not go during the day, and taxis are very expensive. Shi Wangmu replied that it was easy to solve. She was going to teach the guy a unique flying skill. Zhou Shantian would be able to float freely in the air. The two went to the roof. Zhou Shantian was not sure that he would not crash. Shi Wangmu said that if the guy follows the instructions, he will be fine. Zhou Shantian began to use his cultivation technique. He tried to fly up. Zhou Shantian succeeded. He floated freely in the air. Zhou Shantian was glad that this was really possible. Shi Wangmu took the guy's hand. His sister is coming back at 10 in the evening, so they should hurry up. Zhou Shantian thought that the immortality technique was simply amazing. The guys were flying over the city. The guys flew into the forest. This place was rich in spiritual energy, so they decided to train there. Shi Wangmu explained that this is an advanced pill, and the guy can absorb energy without worrying about it affecting his shell. Spiritual energy was used to transform the energy inside the pill. Zhou Shantian had to use his spiritual energy to activate the pill, and the more energy converted, the better the result would be. Zhou Shantian began to do this. He began to transform the energy inside the pill. Zhou Shantian felt that it was very warm there and the power of the pill was spreading throughout his body, and each time the power in his body became more powerful. Zhou Shantian moved to some kind of world. He didn't understand how he got here and what kind of ball was in front of him. Shi Wangmu explained that this ball contains a monster that the guy absorbed earlier. Now he can try to purify it with his spiritual energy. The king of the forest was sitting in the ball. He did not understand what kind of place this was and demanded to be released. Zhou Shantian began to use his purification power. Something strange began to happen to the king of the forest. He shrank into a small ball. Something also began to happen to Zhou Shuantian's body. He absorbed the monster's energy, and lightning appeared around him. Zhou Shantian had finally entered the qi cultivation stage. Shi Wangmu congratulated the guy. Someone came to the forest at the scene of the attack. He believed that something was wrong with the information they received from the Association of Heroes. Judging by the scene of the incident, a battle of this magnitude could not destroy the Forest King to such an extent that there was nothing left of him. The only way to do this was to use spatial superpowers. Stark arrived at the battlefield. He believed that without the remains of the Forest King, the organization's plan would be put on hold again. Stark saw rays of light that rose straight into the sky. He felt a man there. Stark believed that this was truly a vile creature, and he walked towards Zhou Shantian. Stark wanted to have some fun with the guy, considering he had no luck meeting the man. Stark began to use his powers and attacked Zhou Shantian from behind. Zhou Shantian turned sharply and hit Stark in the face with his hand, who was very surprised. Zhou Shuantian's blow was so strong that it threw Stark far into the forest, dust rising around him. Zhou Shantian didn't understand who this guy was or why he attacked him. He noticed that the power of his attack was so strong. Stark did not understand who this guy was. He could hardly get to his feet. Stark thought that he looked weaker than the C-class heroes. He asked how the guy dared to hurt him. Stark was about to kill the guy. He again began to attack him with his superpowers. Stark was about to kill the guy. he again began to attack him with his superpowers. Zhou Shantian dodged Stark's attack. He asked who he was and why he was trying to kill the guy. Stark jumped onto his hands. He was about to strike Zhou Shantian. Stark believed that lower beings did not deserve to know his name. He spun around and was about to kick Zhou Shantian. Stark believed that a minute ago he was too careless. Now the man was going to show Zhou Shantian his true strength. Stark launched his forces around Zhou Shantian. He could not escape from them. Stark began to attack him. He threw his energy at Zhou Shantian. It instantly reached the guy. Zhou Shantian doesn't understand how Stark not only became so strong, but his blows caused damage to Zhou Shantian. Stark jumped up and asked if this is all that Zhou Shantian is capable of. He directed energy towards the guy with all his might. Zhou Shantian hit a stone. He asked Shi Wangmu why it was so difficult for him to defend against Stark's attacks now. The girl replied that when Zhou Shantian entered a new stage, it caused a resonance of the power of heaven and earth, and now it is over. Zhou Shantian asked to teach him some techniques. Shi Wangmu replied that for some time the guy would not be able to learn too complex techniques. But the girl had an idea. One day she discovered a great immortal technique that could be ideal for a guy. Shi Wangmu approached Zhou Shantian. She held his head in her hands. The guy became embarrassed, looking at the girl. Shi Wangmu kissed Zhou Shuentian's forehead. She was about to activate his new technique. The girl said that this technique is called Cloud-Piercing Finger, and it will allow the guy to collect spiritual energy around and release it. Zhou Shantian immediately learned it as soon as the girl put the knowledge into his head. At that moment, Stark jumped high into the sky and was about to attack the young man. Zhou Shantian was surprised. Stark said that Zhou Shantian caught him once, but his life would end here. He created a magic ball. Zhou Shantian gathered all his energy. He was going to use the technique that Shi Wangmu showed him. The guy needed to condense air on his fingertips. He did so, and was about to attack Stark. Zhou Shuentian's spiritual forces immediately flew up and headed towards Stark. Zhou Shuentian's power quickly reached Stark, who was shocked by the guy's strength. Zhou Shuentian's spiritual energy overpowered Stark. He screamed in agony and glowed with white light. Zhou Shuentian's power covered the entire globe. It spread over a very long distance. Zhou Shantian thought that the power of this immortal technique was so great. Shi Wangmu hugged the guy. The girl was sure that he could do it. She really wasn't mistaken about him. Shi Wangmu hugged the guy so tightly that he couldn't even breathe. At this moment, the alarm clock on Zhou Shuentian's phone rang. It was 11 o'clock in the evening. Zhou Shantian took out his phone and looked at it in surprise. It was already very late and he would get hurt for being late. Zhou Shantian ran home with Shi Wangmu so as not to worry his sister. At this moment, Yun Shu was playing cards at the table with Tai Ban. They seemed to have found a common language. The girl got 4 twos and showed them to Tai Ban, placing them on the table. Yun Shu was very happy. She won again. Tai Ban looked at the girl's cards in surprise. Tai Ban said that this did not count and their mortals had the advantage of playing games of their own invention. The man suggested playing again. Yun Shu replied that she could defeat Tai Ban as much as she wanted. At this moment, Zhou Shantian entered the apartment. The guy said hello and said that he was back. He was surprised that the guys got along so well. Yun Shu laughed and told her brother that his friend was very stupid. Zhou Shantian said that he forgot to discuss this with his sister in advance and Tan Ban will stay with them for a while. Yun Shun smiled and said that she doesn't mind and it's fun when there are a lot of people in the house. This was the first time Zhou Shantian invited a friend home. Tai Ban was overjoyed at the news and asked Zhou Shantian to take care of him from now on. Zhou Shantian noticed that the girl gave Tai Ban his father's clothes. The door to their parents' room had been closed for a very long time. It seemed the girl had opened it. Somewhere in the West China Sea a thunderstorm was raging, waves were hitting the island, lightning was flashing. Several people were sitting in the castle hall. One girl told her boss that the mission to restore Stark had failed. Stark said that this place is the headquarters of the Hero Association, but it is still very difficult to restore the remains. The girl said that her power is the tree of life and whoever eats her seeds, she can determine his condition and location, but he has completely lost his vital signs. Stark said that the guys from the Hero Association were trying to ruin his day again. He told him to send this to the King of the Deep. The next day, classes were about to begin at the School of the Awakened. One of the students heard that a new student was transferred to their class today. The other girls knew who he was. They said that he could defeat 5 by himself. The girl knew from rumors that he studied at school without supernatural powers. Yesterday he took first place among the freshmen. Another student was happy about her new classmate. She believed that she had to get him. Her friends said that he was already with Chen Xingxuan and yesterday she saw him leaving with her. Another girl overheard their conversation. She was surprised that Xingxuan had someone she liked. The girl's name was Xia Zhiqi. She couldn't miss such a good opportunity. She thought that the guy should be hers. Classes had just started when the bell rang. The teacher introduced the new kid in the class, Zhou Shantian. The guy said hello and introduced himself. He said that he was a person who wanted to become an S-class hero. Chen Xingxuan thought that Zhou Shuantian's ambitions were considerable, but becoming a top-class hero was not so easy. There was an empty seat next to Chen Xingxuan. The teacher said that Zhou Shantian could sit there. One of the students doubted that this guy had superpowers, because his ghost did not feel anything. Today's lesson is a practical exercise on monsters. Chen Xingxuan had to take responsibility for the new student since she had the highest grades. At this moment, Xia Zhiqi raised her hand and addressed the teacher. The girl said that she would also like to meet her new classmate and asked to be in the same group with him. She wanted to take the guy away. The teacher allowed it. All the students began to ask who this guy was, why the attention was being paid to him. Zhou Shantian was jealous and considered to be of high birth. Wang Jiron was very angry with this attitude towards Zhou Shantian. He wanted to make sure to teach him a lesson. The teacher told the children to be quiet. They had to go to the field for practice. The practice field looked like a huge hall with a holographic floor and walls. The guys had to take their places. Zhou Shantian noticed that there was very little spiritual energy in this place and he didn't know if he could use his cloud-piercing finger. Xia Zhiqi ran up to Zhou Shantian and grabbed his hand. Zhou Shantian asked who this girl was. Xia Zhiqi introduced herself. She smiled and said that she was pleased to meet you. The girl said that the guy was very cool yesterday and she saw everything. Zhou Shantian laughed and said that he was not that cool. Chen Xingxuan approached them. She advised the guy not to believe her lies. Yesterday Xia Zhiqi didn't even come. Xia Zhiqi asked how Chen Xingxuan could falsely accuse someone like that, because it was so low. The girl said that Zhou Shantian should believe her and she really was there and saw everything. Chen Xingxuan grabbed the guy's second hand. She saw the guy, and as long as she's here, she won't let the girl brainwash him. The two girls fought over Zhou Shantian. They looked at each other angrily. Zhou Shantian did not understand what was happening. Xia Zhiqi asked if Zhou Shantian believed her. Chen Xingxuan demanded that the guy answer whom he believed more. The teacher said that the exercise would start soon and asked to get ready for it. Zhou Shantian breathed a sigh of relief because he had avoided this squabble. A black ball appeared above the students. Magical energy emanated from it. Similar balls appeared in each sector where a certain group of guys was located. Chen Xingxuan asked what kind of monster they were going to fight. Xia Zhiqi replied that the monsters are random and each group has different monsters. At that moment, a monster began to emerge from the black ball, which would be the guy's opponent in this test. Long tentacles appeared. An octopus with an ice ridge will fight with the guys. The monster's ability was sea level, freezing, illusion, regeneration. Seeing the monster, Chen Xingxuan realized that this was the one she hated the most. The giant octopus began to attack the guys. They jumped away from his attack. Zhou Shantian was about to try to use his power. He concentrated it in his finger. Zhou Shantian used his finger technique, piercing the clouds. The energy moved towards the monster. The technique used did not damage the monster, it did not even scratch it. The girls looked at Zhou Shantian with disbelief. They were unpleasantly surprised by the weakness of his strength. In this isolated space with weak spiritual energy, this ability works very poorly. The octopus was furious. He went wild and began to move his tentacles. Its tentacles tried to hit the guys. They were moving at high speed. Chen Xingxuan was already tired of these tentacles. The guys were still dodging the octopus's strike. Zhou Shantian thought that since he couldn't use his finger, he had to fight it up close. The guy flew up to the tentacle and cut it in two with his hand. He was going to cook takoyaki from the octopus. Chen Xingxuan was surprised that the guy did not know that cutting off the tentacles of an ice octopus is prohibited, because this is a well-known fact of monstrology. Fog appeared around. The octopus became even more angry. Zhou Shantian looked around. it seemed to him that there were more tentacles, they were approaching the guy. Chen Xingxuan used her powers and directed them towards Zhou Shantian. She lifted him into the air and told him to come back here. Once he cuts off the ice octopus's tentacles, he will activate his phantom mist skill, making it harder to attack. At that moment, 3 more octopuses appeared in front of the guys. They looked at them in surprise. Xia Zhiqi told the guy that it was a great attack, but he shouldn't do that again. The testing time is limited and they can't waste it anymore. She told Chen Xingxuan to leave the monsters to her. The girl put on a mask and activated the shadow murder mode. She ran into battle. By attacking the octopus's weak point, it was possible to get rid of these phantoms. The girl began to do just that. Thus, Yaxia Zhiqi found a real octopus. She flew at it with the ball, trying to hit it. The girl plunged her blade right into the octopus's eye. However, the octopus was not injured. It disappeared, and fog appeared around again. It looks like this octopus was also fake. Xia Zhiqi was very surprised by this. The tentacles reached out to the girl. The octopus tentacles grabbed the girl and held her tightly. She screamed. There were 30 seconds left until the end of the training. The guys had to hurry up. Chen Xingxuan used the octopus explosion technique. Zhou Shantian did not understand why the girl was exploding the tentacles. Chen Xingxuan said that the situation will not get worse. The weakness of the octopus is in his eye. Now the guys don't have time to look for the real body. Chen Xingxuan believed that in this case it was necessary to blow up all the octopuses at once. The girl began to do this. However, her efforts did not lead to success. Tentacles appeared from the fog that were quickly moving towards the girl. The tentacles grabbed Chen Xingxuan along with Xia Zhiqi and the girls screamed loudly. Zhou Shantian was also captured. Xia Zhiqi didn't understand how the octopus got so big, or whether it was using an illusion to make them underestimate the enemy's strength. There were 10 seconds left until the end of the training. Chen Xingxuan believed that it was all over and they had failed the test. Zhou Shantian cut the tentacles and told the girls not to despair, because there was still enough time. Last night, on the way home, Zhou Shantian asked Shi Wangmu what he should do if the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was very little. The girl replied that he should use his own energy, and all this time, Zhou Shantian accumulated his spiritual energy. It became very concentrated. Zhou Shantian was about to show the monster his true strength. He used the heaven-piercing finger technique again. His energy went straight through the octopus's eye and came out the other side. It seems his strength was enough to defeat the monster. He let the girls go. A hole appeared in the wall of the building due to the guy's actions. The guys did not understand who had such destructive power. Chen Xingxuan praised Zhou Shantian, but couldn't believe that he killed the monster with one move. Xia Zhiqi did not expect such strength from the guy. The test was over. Group D had the best result. It was the group of Zhou Shantian and the girls. Wang Jiron said that Zhou Shantian had settled down well and got a better result thanks to the help of the girls. Zhou Shantian laughed and replied that envy does make people behave differently. Wang Jiron asked if the guy would dare to play another game with him, on the same court in 3 days. If he plays, you should get out of school. Zhou Shantian smiled and asked what would happen if he did win. Wang Jiron replied that in that case, he would kneel down and call him daddy 3 times. Sun Lan sat at home and watched the news. They said that last night a ray of light appeared in the forest of Wudong Mountain and many people shared photos of it. Some netizens speculate that this is related to the forest king who recently descended on the city. The girl was eating noodles. She was surprised that it was about an S-class monster. She called Mehran and told him to help her find out if there had been any serious incidents in the mountains where Stark had appeared in recent months. Sun Lan stood up from the table and thought that she should go to the forest first. The girl got on her motorcycle and drove along the highway into the forest at night. She was told through the communication that Stark had visited several cities where there had been attacks by S-class monsters and all of them had occurred before he went there. The girl's guess turned out to be correct. Stark's organization is working on merging people and monsters, and perhaps he is trying to return the remains of the Forest King. The next day came. The weather was warm in the city. Planes were flying in the sky, the leaves of the trees rustled in the wind. Zhou Shantian returned home. Shi Wangmu was next to him. Tanban was working at the table. Zhou Shantian asked if the girl had a better technique, since there are many restrictions on the finger piercing the clouds. Shi Wangmu replied that there is no quick solution for learning immortal techniques, as yet there is too little spiritual energy in the guy's body. Zhou Shantian asked Tan Ban if he still had a pill that made the guy cultivate quickly. The man replied that such pills can only be taken in a special place or at a low level. Tan Ban gave Zhou Shantian 2 other pills, one to increase the strength of his techniques, the second to heal his wounds. The guy thought it was better than nothing and took the pills. It was already late. Zhou Shantian was about to go into the forest to absorb spiritual energy. Sun Lan found Stark in the forest. She told him that he was arrested. Stark thought it was the unluckiest day of his life. It took him half a day to recover his body. Sun Lan began to attack Stark. She shot him with a pistol. He skillfully avoided the bullets. Stark shouted that he was in a very bad mood. He jumped up and swung at the girl. Can Lan was surprised that Stark had such powerful strength. She defended herself from the blow with her iron hand. Stark was still angry at Zhou Shantian. The next time the man saw him, he would chop him into pieces. Stark stepped on the back of Tsang Lan's metal animal and called it scrap metal. Tsang Lan activated the mark on her hand and it glowed yellow. Her metal arm also began to glow, her magical power powering the mechanism. The girl was about to attack Stark. She gave a signal to her iron pet. At that moment, the iron being wrapped its tail around Stark's leg, and grabbed the other leg with its mouth. Stark thought that he had just restored his body, but not his powers. Since it was raining, he was about to use a deadly energy tornado. A tornado rose into the air, the ground began to crack under Stark, and he ordered the girl to die. The tornado reached Tsang Lan in an instant. She was very surprised by this. The man's strength enveloped her hands. Stark said that the girl forced him to use up her life force in order to use this trick. He was going to drain the energy from her. At this moment, Stark noticed that someone was coming and perhaps this was support for the Association of Heroes. The man decided to retreat. Zhou Shantian and Shi Wangmu arrived at the scene and noticed that there seemed to be a fight here. Zhou Shantian noticed Tsang Lan lying unconscious and decided to approach her. Zhou Shantian picked up the Hero Association ID that was lying next to the girl from the ground. He realized that she was an A-class hero. Zhou Shantian felt Tsang Lan's pulse and asked if she was okay. The girl had a weak pulse and was seriously injured. Zhou Shantian asked what to do, since it was too late to take her to the hospital. Shi Wangmu remembered that Xiao Bai gave the guy a soul-saving pill. It can be given to a girl. Zhou Shantian tried to give Tsang Lan pills, but in her condition there was no way she could take the medicine at all. At that moment, the guy came up with an idea on how to deliver medicine to Tsang Lan's body. The guy thought that it would be like some kind of TV show. He himself took the pills in his mouth and kissed the girl. Tsang Lan woke up in an instant. She blushed and took a breath. The soul-saving pills began to take effect, and the energy gradually began to heal her. Zhou Shantian was surprised that the medicine worked so quickly and the girls would not need much time to recover. At this moment, Zhou Shantian noticed the girl's iron pet that was nearby. The animal showed Zhou Shantian a hologram of the one who attacked them. It was Stark. Zhou Shantian thought that he had dealt with this man. He asked if he had attacked the guys. The pet barked. Zhou Shantian asked if he wanted the young man to follow him. At this time, Qing Meng was in the forest. The girl was picking mushrooms. Her father was out of town again, and she would have to deal with the dinner problem herself. Stark noticed the girl. He was surprised that a person without superpowers was in such a place. Stark decided that with the help of Qing Meng, he could restore his strength by absorbing her energy. It was a dark night. Strange things were happening in the forest. Battles were breaking out. The steel pet led Zhou Shantian to their offender. The young man carried Tsang Lan on his back. Suddenly the guy saw a loud explosion. He realized that someone was fighting ahead. Zhou Shantian saw Stark fighting with Qing Meng. He didn't understand what the girl was doing in the forest at such a time. Zhou Shantian put Tsang Lan on the ground and told her iron dog to stay here and protect her. He himself was going to take care of Stark. At this time, Qing Meng was fighting with Stark. She didn't understand how this guy could be so agile. All her techniques didn't hit the man. He shouldn't be allowed close. Stark was surprised. He thought that this girl was a worthless person. He did not understand how she could throw a piece of paper with such force. Stark thought that such a big noise would attract people from the Heroic Association and he would get into trouble, so he should kill her. Stark threw a tree at the girl, which he had pulled out himself. Qing Meng could not count on her father coming back now and she had to deal with everything herself. The girl threw the Taoist talisman at the tree. It exploded right in front of her. Stark suddenly appeared from the dust curtain. he was heading towards the girl, wanting to attack her. Qin Meng didn't expect this, she thought that she was in a bad situation. Stark was already approaching her, he had almost defeated the girl. At this moment, Zhou Shuntian appeared in the sky, lightning flashed around him, and he took Qin Meng in his arms. The guy said Stark should go to hell. Qin Meng did not expect to see him, she was embarrassed. Zhou Shuntian used his power, he sent a stream of energy towards Stark, who screamed in agony. Qin Meng recognized Zhou Shuntian, she was surprised that the guy had become so strong. Zhou Shuntian landed, he asked if the girl was okay, everything was fine, but she didn't understand how the guy got here. Zhou Shuntian said that it was a long story and asked if the girl had any more talismans. She has a few left. Stark had the ability to regenerate, Zhou Shuntian's trick absorbed all the energy attached to him, the talisman would help finish him off. Qin Meng agreed to use the talisman, she was going to send Stark to the point of no return. The girl used the Taoist talisman on Stark's body, and a loud explosion was heard. Zhou Shuntian thought that this should be enough to prevent Stark from surviving. Qin Meng thanked the guy for saving her. Zhou Shuntian said that there is no need for gratitude, because the girl also once saved him. He asked why they always meet in the forest. Qin Meng replied that she lived in a Taoist temple and invited the guy home. Zhou Shuntian agreed to the proposal and asked if she could wait for him here. Zhou Shuntian had some things to do and asked him to wait for the girl for a minute. At this time, the villains were sitting at the deep-sea base. They watched the news. It said that recently passenger ships at sea near the city were often attacked by monsters, mutants. Among them, there are many monsters above grade A, and the Hero Association sent Nian Dongquai to lead a team to deal with them. The girl with glasses thought that this was a great job and the next step was to wait for these heroes to deliver themselves to the door. The man with horns asked if what the girl sent worked. She replied that of course it works and S-class heroes should not be killed, they will extract superpowers from them. The man with the horns replied that he would let them live. It was time for the girl to leave, she would return in a few days to check the results. At this time, San Lan had already woken up. Zhou Shuntian saw the girl and asked if her wounds had healed. She thanked the guy for not only saving her, but also completing the mission for her. Zhou Shuntian scratched his head and asked how the girl knew all this. Her steel dog wrote everything down. San Lan asked if the guy was a recently recruited hero of the Heroic Association. The guy smiled and said that he was only 16 years old and attended a school for superpowers in the city of Mihai. San Lan was very surprised by this. How the guy managed to kill a wanted S-class criminal. She asked if the guy wanted to join their association. Zhou Shuntian asked her to keep a secret, the guy would still like to study at the School of Superpowers. Zhou Shuntian's true strength is only at sea level, and if he joins the Heroic Association, they will reveal it in a minute. The girl introduced herself and gave the guy some kind of device, with the help of which Zhou Shuntian can always contact the girl. San Lan left with her pet and said goodbye to Zhou Shuntian, she told him to return to his girlfriend. Zhou Shuntian was embarrassed because he didn't even know the girl's name. Zhou Shuntian returned to Qin Meng, the girl introduced herself. I asked what Zhou Shuntian's name was, he also said his name. Qin Meng asked what Zhou Shuntian was doing in this place and who was that strange person just now. The guy replied that it was a long story. The guys came to the Taoist temple on Mount Wudang to visit Qin Meng. Zhou Shuntian could not see this temple from the outside. The girl said that protective talismans surround her house and are not visible to most people. The guy asked Shi Wangmu why the energy of Taoist talismans resembles the technique of immortality that he learned. The girl replied that the talisman system is part of the immortal technique. She also noticed that Qin Meng does not know any techniques, she only uses talismans. Shi Wangmu suggested that there were other immortal masters who transcended the void, came to this world and taught these things to people. Yanhua was sitting on the roof, he waited for half a day and finally the girl returned. He jumped off the roof and asked if the girl was Dongfang Qin Meng. Qin Meng asked who the man was and how he got here. She took out her sword. Yanhua told her to calm down, he was taught how to bypass this protection and he is here to convey a message. Qin Meng's brother Dongfang Yunshua asked to give a letter to his sister. The girl was very surprised, she took a letter from her brother. Yanhua finished there, it was time for him to leave. Qin Meng asked the man to wait, she asked if he was a friend of her brother, she was interested in how he was doing there. Yanhua laughed at the word friend, because brother Qing Meng treated him like a servant. Yanhua didn't know much about Dongfang Yunshua, he hadn't seen him for a long time. The man said goodbye. At that moment, Yanhua disappeared from the sight of the guys. Zhou Shuntian asked if this means that the girl has a brother. She hasn't seen him since he left home several years ago. Qing Meng invited Zhou Shuntian to enter her house. The guys sat down at the table. She treated Zhou Shuntian to tea and opened the envelope from her brother. Inside was a talisman with a very unusual pattern. It was not like what Qing Meng had seen before. Suddenly, a voice rang out, loudly asking where Qing Meng was. It was the girl's father. He never allowed her to contact strangers. The girl was afraid that he would see Zhou Shuntian. Zhou Shuntian imagined what would happen to him as soon as Qing Meng's father entered the room. The guy would clearly not be in good shape in this case. The girl jumped up from the table and said that Zhou Shuntian needed to leave quickly. The guy agreed and asked to give him a second. He wrote his phone number on the paper. Zhou Shuntian gave the note to Qing Meng and told her to call at any time if there were any problems. The girl smiled. She was glad that she had a new friend. Zhou Shuntian quickly ran away. Dongfang Chaoshu walked into the room. He asked what his daughter was looking at. She hid the note behind her back. At this time, classes at the School of Supernatural Abilities were in full swing. The teacher explained that every student naturally moves towards the goal of becoming a hero. She was going to talk more about superpowers. Superpowers were divided into mental type, strengthening type and specialization type. The mental type allowed one to control all sorts of things through will, including the elemental system. The type of strengthening allowed one to strengthen oneself or others. Specialization type is a general term that did not apply to the first two. The teacher asked Chen Xingxuan to demonstrate mental strength. The girl approached the board and said that her strength is relying on her own will to control the things around her. She tried to control the stationery on the students' desks, but the girl did not succeed. Chen Xingxuan didn't understand why she wasn't coming out. Before coming to school, everything was fine with her strength. Zhou Shuntian looked at her in surprise. He thought that something had happened to the bracelet. The girl tried harder. She screamed for her mental power to activate. All the stationery of the guys in the class flew into the air. Chen Xingxuan didn't feel like she was using her power even though the stationery was levitating. It turns out that it was Zhou Shuntian who lifted them all into the air. He wanted to help the girl. Chen Xingxuan was embarrassed and was grateful to Zhou Shuntian for his help. Some time after school ended, Chen Xingxuan walked out into the schoolyard. She didn't understand why her power wasn't working. The girl was going to ask her mother about it. She used her bracelet to call the water witch. Chen Xingxuan began to wait for her mother to answer her questions. The water witch picked up the phone and asked what happened to her daughter. Chen Xingxuan explained that her bracelet suddenly stopped working. She asked what happened to Dad if he was okay. The water witch explained that her father was underwater and perhaps the underwater environment was jamming the signal. The water witch explained that the girl's bracelet needs energy and its amount depends on the environment. Chen Xingxuan asked her to tell her father to be careful. The water witch ended the conversation and was about to discuss with Tina the issue of arresting Nian Dongxia and sending her to help. An hour ago, some exciting events took place in the Sea of Mirages. The villain with horns fought with Nimble Man. The hero attacked him with his singing waves. The villain said that the sea is his territory and here he is invincible. The villain quickly swam towards Nimble Man and was about to attack him. The men fought in a duel. They were both strong and not inferior to each other. Nimble Man thought that it was too early and the power of ranged attacks was weakened. The man needed to come up with something else. Nimble Man used the mind double technique, and several more projections of the hero instantly appeared. Villain that it will be a little difficult to capture Nimble Man alive without equipment. He sent a stream of power towards the villain. He shouted that it was useless and used the Chaos Tornado technique. The entire ocean could become his shield and the hero's attacks were useless. Nimble Man asked what kind of ocean this was and swung his fist at the villain. The hero exclaimed that his fist could pierce the sky. He hit the villain. From the surface it all looked like a huge wave, and people from a helicopter were watching everything. The villain said that the hero is really strong but he didn't even come close to breaking the villain's defense. Nimble Man, looking at the man, couldn't believe that he really wasn't hurt. The hero thought that if one blow did not work, then he should try 100 blows. The villain was surprised by the hero's speed. He had to hurry up to activate the equipment, otherwise it would be too difficult to catch him. The villain again used the underwater tornado technique. the man flew into the air. The villain exclaimed that the fun didn't end there and grabbed Nimble Man by the fist. The hero did not understand what was happening, he could no longer use his mental power. Nimble Man fell into the villain's trap, he lifted him with his strength, he could not move. At this time it was a clear day outside, only a few clouds were visible in the sky. It was recess at the school for superheroes, the school day was almost over. Zhou Shantian noticed that Qing Meng still hadn't added him, so he probably should have asked her for contact information. Chen Xingxuan noticed the guy in the corridor and asked him to wait. The girl ran up to Zhou Shantian and thanked him for his help in class today. Zhou Shantian replied that the girl had also helped him before, so there was no need to worry. Chen Xingxuan asked if the guy had superpowers before and how exactly he got them. The guy didn't want to tell anyone about cultivating immortality, he awkwardly said that everyone awakens in their own way and this information will not help Chen Xingxuan. Zhou Shantian tried to run away, he said that the supermarket was having a sale today and he needed to leave. Chen Xingxuan noticed that Zhou Shantian was behaving somehow suspiciously, it seemed to her that he was hiding something. A little later, Zhou Shantian still had not returned home, the sun was shining brightly outside. Chen Xingxuan found out Zhou Shuentian's home address, she flew straight to the windows of his house. The girl was going to hide in his house in advance and try to find out what Zhou Shantian was hiding. Chen Xingxuan entered Zhou Shuentian's house through the window, she was still thinking about where to hide. The girl looked around Zhou Shuentian's room, she thought that the things around were very strange. The girl thought that the guy was using these things to awaken his superpowers. Chen Xingxuan opened one of the sealed bottles, it had a picture of a cherry blossom on it. A pleasant smell was heard from the bottle, which filled the whole room and intoxicated the girl. And at that moment, Zhou Shantian and Shi Wangmu returned home, they bought noodles that Xiao Bai likes on sale in the supermarket. Shi Wangmu remembered that Xiao Bai went to buy herbs for alchemy today and was not at home, a frightening silhouette appeared from behind the door. This man suddenly jumped out at Zhou Shantian, the guy was scared. This silhouette was Chen Xingxuan, she hugged Zhou Shantian, called him daddy and said that he had finally returned. Zhou Shantian did not understand what the girl was doing in his house and said that he was not her father. Shi Wangmu realized that the girl most likely accidentally opened Xiao Bai's drink. The girl kept clinging to Zhou Shantian, she said that her daddy had not returned for a very long time. Zhou Shantian tried to bring her back to her senses. Shi Wangmu said that this drink does not have much effect on immortals, but ordinary people can get drunk for the whole day just by inhaling a little of it. The only way to bring the girl to her senses was to remove the effect of the drink. Shi Wangmu put her hand on the girl's stomach. Shi Wangmu was surprised at what she felt inside the girl. She said that Chen Xingxuan's body has spiritual roots and her fire root has an affinity with spiritual energy. Zhou Shantian asked if this meant that she was born with the qualities needed to cultivate immortality. Shi Wangmu said that this is true, although her qualifications are not as good as Zhou Shantian, the girl is still a treasure. Shi Wangmu wanted Zhou Shantian to use his spiritual energy to bring her back to consciousness, this would also show whether the guy's control over spiritual energy had improved. Zhou Shantian said that he would do it, he looked at Chen Xingxuan with embarrassment. The guy began to remove the effect of the drink from the girl's body. Shi Wangmu said that she also watched the girl for a while, she is not a bad person, when she wakes up, Zhou Shantian should have told her about cultivating immortality. The process was not quick, Zhou Shantian took some time to remove the effect of the drink from the girl. A few more minutes passed, the girl still had not left the guy's apartment. Zhou Shantian, as promised, told Chen Xingxuan everything about cultivating immortality. The girl was surprised that in addition to superpowers, there was such a thing as immortal power. Chen Xingxuan exclaimed that she wanted to study, because she had always relied only on her father's superpowers, she was tired of it. Shi Wangmu said that now that Chen Xingxuan has agreed, they can begin the first step. Chen Xingxuan can't see Shi Wangmu's soul body yet, so the girl was going to borrow Zhou Shuentian's body. Shi Wangmu possessed Zhou Shantian, she told Chen Xingxuan not to move. Shi Wangmu and Zhou Shuentian's body touched Chen Xingxuan's face, the girl became embarrassed. Shi Wangmu and Zhou Shuentian's body kissed Chen Xingxuan's forehead. This transported the girl to another world, everything in it seemed unreal. Chen Xingxuan did not understand what this feeling was, it seemed to her that something was sprouting inside her body. Chen Xingxuan finally awakened the cultivation of immortality in her body. She came to her senses. With this, the girl was finally able to see Shi Wangmu's spiritual body. Chen Xingxuan said that Shi Wangmu was very beautiful and asked if she was the master that Zhou Shantian was talking about. Zhou Shantian asked if the girl could see her. Shi Wangmu said that her plan worked. Chen Xingxuan asked what it was just now and what she saw when she was unconscious. Shi Wangmu said that she had revived Chen Xingxuan's divine consciousness and the spiritual roots in her body were also activated. Chen Xingxuan ran up to Shi Wangmu, hugged her and asked if she could use the immortal technique now. Shi Wangmu said that it was still early and such things should not be rushed. She gave the girl a book on the Flying Star Spirit Sword technique and advised her to study it first. Chen Xingxuan's eyes sparkled and she thanked Shi Wangmu for her help. Zhou Shantian looked at his watch. It was already late. He invited Chen Xingxuan to stay for dinner, which he was going to cook himself. Chen Xingxuan stayed to have dinner with Zhou Shantian and his sister. They all sat down at the table and were ready to start eating. The food looked very tasty and there was a variety of dishes on the table. Chen Xingxuan tried the treats. She really liked them. The girl said that Zhou Shantian cooks very tasty. Yunsun told Chen Xingxuan to eat slowly and not choke. Chen Xingxuan said that she had not had dinner with anyone for a long time, and when you eat with someone, your appetite increases. Zhou Shantian asked Chen Xingxuan where her parents were and why she didn't have dinner with anyone. The girl became depressed and replied that they were very busy with their work, so they did not have time for their daughter when she was at home, only the robot nanny was with her. Zhou Shantian thought that it was too tragic that there was only a robot with her. The guy thought that the family life of the heroes was very happy, but everything turned out to be wrong. Yunsun told the girl that she could come here and spend more time with them. Chen Xingxuan agreed because she needed Zhou Shuantian's advice on many issues. The next day after dinner, the guys watched the news about the disaster at the Heroes Association. Several heroes left irrevocably to destroy the King of the Depths, including Nian Dongxia, an S-level 3rd-rank hero. Zhou Shantian asked if the host was talking about Chen Xingxuan's father. The girl did not understand when this happened to him and why her mother did not tell about it. Chen Xingxuan replied that she understands the Hero Association and they will find a way to solve this problem. The girl turned off the TV. Zhou Shantian and Chen Xingxuan trained in cultivation, and Shi Wangmu observed their progress. The girl was very worried about something. She had no face because of excitement. Shi Wangmu noticed this. She told Chen Xingxuan not to be distracted, because she must concentrate. Chen Xingxuan asked how long it would take to enter the qi cultivation stage, and if she could take one of the pills to speed up the process. Shi Wangmu told the girl not to try to take a shortcut. The pills have a side effect. The consumption of spiritual energy is doubled. Chen Xingxuan understood everything. Zhou Shantian was surprised by this information. He asked why Shi Wangmu did not tell him this earlier. Shi Wangmu replied that this side effect is not that important and it will automatically disappear after the guys create their foundation. Zhou Shantian and Chen Xingxuan continued cultivating immortality in their room. At this moment, Xiaobai teleported into the room. He carried a huge backpack on his shoulders. Shi Wangmu asked if he had found all the ingredients. The man replied that he had found everything and that an elixir would soon be made that could increase the level of spiritual energy. The last ingredient was Windlingji, which was also obtained by Xiaobai. Xiaobai noticed Chen Xingxuan. He asked who this girl was. Shi Wangmu replied that this was her new student. The girl asked if Xiaobai had magical treasures to give to the girl for protection. Xiaobai lied that he had nothing. He needed these magical treasures to steal the herbs, so he could not give them away. Shi Wangmu pinched the man's cheek and said that he couldn't hide anything from her. She demanded a magical treasure. Xiaobai gave the invisibility jade. It can be used to hide your form. It is very useful for escaping in case of danger. The girl thanked Xiaobai. She thought that with this treasure she had a chance to save her father. The girl stayed late at Zhou Shuantian's house. She stood on her board and rushed home. At this moment, someone was calling Chen Xingxuan's bracelet, and she picked up the phone. The water witch called her. She asked where Chen Xingxuan was now, because their housekeeper said that she had not returned yet. Chen Xingxuan replied that it was none of her business where the girl was. She asked why her mother didn't tell her about what happened to her father. The water witch believed that telling her daughter would not solve anything. The girl should just be obedient and go to school. Chen Xingxuan got angry and asked what she meant by this. because the girl was the daughter of a hero. Chen Xingxuan did not want to talk to her mother anymore, she disconnected the connection. The water witch was very worried about her daughter, she asked her not to switch off. Chen Xingxuan drove past her father's poster, she was used to being underestimated, but now it was her own mother who was doing it. Chen Xingxuan believed that she had to prove to everyone what she was capable of, she took out the Jade of Invisibility. The hero's daughter was the label that Chen Xingxuan had been given since birth. From a young age, she was raised with high expectations, the girl was expected to be better than an ordinary person in every way. Although Chen Xingxuan always tried to prove herself, she never managed to live up to everyone's expectations. Now even her superpowers have suddenly disappeared and she can only rely on her father's superpowers every day, which were contained in her bracelet. Chen Xingxuan didn't want to live under the fame of her parents, with her newfound immortal skills, she was going to save her father. Chen Xingxuan boarded the submarine, she had been learning to drive for a month during the previous summer vacation. The submarine dived deep into the ocean, the girl was determined to find her father. Underwater there was a protected base of the villains who kidnapped Nimble Man. The villain with horns was sleeping peacefully in his pajamas in his bed. Chen Xingxuan was on a submarine, she finally noticed the underwater base on her monitor. Chen Xingxuan was going to carry out her operation in style, she pressed the big red button. Several underwater bombs were released from the submarine and they headed towards the base. The underwater bombs reached their target, they exploded, but did not break the barrier. The base employees thought it was an enemy attack, all the guards ran out and got ready to fight back the attacker, and it was also necessary to fix the unstable electricity. The guards did not understand how such a small ship dared to attack their base. The entire squad moved towards the submarine. Chen Xingxuan at this time used Jade to get inside, she became invisible and floated past the guards. Chen Xingxuan swam to the protective barrier, it was weakened and would not be able to stop the attack. Chen Xingxuan did not understand why such a weak barrier was needed. Chen Xingxuan was about to infiltrate the base to deal with the villains. The girl easily defeated two guards who stood in her way. She didn't understand where exactly Nimble Man was being held. This base turned out to be surprisingly large. Fortunately, Chen Xingxuan received their information. Her father should be on this floor. The girl looked at the map of the building. Chen Xingxuan opened the door to the room where Nimble Man was supposed to be kept. Chen Xingxuan saw her father tied to a huge holographic wall, he was unconscious. The girl was very scared when she saw her father in such a state, she wanted to save him. Chen Xingxuan used the air blade technique to rescue her father from the barrier. The blades hit the glass behind which the hero was held, but they could not break through it. Chen Xingxuan was serious about rescuing Nimbus Man and tried again and again. At that moment, a villain with horns entered the room. He was very angry that the girl disturbed his beautiful dream. The next day, classes for students with superpowers were held at school as usual. Zhou Shuntian thought it was strange that Chen Xingxuan still hadn't come to class, maybe the girl was sick. Xia Zhiqi approached Zhou Shuntian and asked if the guy would wait for her. Chen Xingxuan didn't come to school at all today. Zhou Shuntian was very surprised by this behavior was not like Chen Xingxuan. Xia Zhiqi thought that the girl was not feeling well after learning that her father was missing. Xia Zhiqi sat on the desk and slyly said that while Chen Xingxuan was away, the guy belonged to her. Zhou Shuntian moved the girl, he asked when he managed to become her property. Zhou Shuntian went outside, he was sure that Chen Xingxuan would never miss class. Shi Wangmu noticed that yesterday the girl was often distracted during training. Zhou Shuntian thought that she had gone to save her father, but she couldn't even use her superpowers now. Shi Wangmu felt that the energy of the jade that Chen Xingxuan received last night was already far from here, she must be really careless. Zhou Shuntian was scared, he was sure that she could not do anything alone, the guy decided to go save her. Shi Wangmu said that she must first return to Xiaobai and put on the Taoist robe and borrow other talismans, otherwise Zhou Shuntian would have to rely only on luck. Zhou Shuntian listened to Shi Wangmu's advice and, fully equipped, went to help Chen Xingxuan. Shi Wangmu was flying nearby as they approached the place. Shi Wangmu told Zhou Shuntian to be careful when he entered into battle and not get himself killed. Zhou Shuntian dived under the water, he swam towards the base. After wearing the robe, Zhou Shuntian could breathe normally underwater and his movements were not limited at all. Zhou Shuntian saw the base. Zhou Shantian picked up the red ribbon and was about to test this treasure in action. The guy decided to create chaos underwater. He waved the ribbon and imbued it with his power. A whirlwind of water rose up all around. It was the power of the immortal's treasure. This underwater anomaly was noticed at the base. They thought it was another attack by the hero. The base guards looked at the surveillance cameras and saw Zhou Shantian waving the ribbon underwater. The tape required a lot of physical energy to use. Zhou Shantian was tired. The identification of the base system failed. Zhou Shantian was not from the Hero Association. The guard was very surprised. The man didn't understand where the guy got such strength from if he wasn't a hero. The other guard smiled and said that since he was not a hero, they would immediately finish him off with a water cannon. He was going to press the big red button. At that moment, a villain with horns entered the room and stopped the guards. The man himself wanted to deal with this guy. The guards were very surprised at such an initiative. This was the first time the man had met someone who had such control over the sea. He wanted to see who the true king of the deep was. Zhou Shantian was still launching water tornadoes into the base. He made a lot of noise and didn't understand why no one had come out yet. Zhou Shantian noticed that something strange began to happen to the water. It changed its direction. Zhou Shantian decided to wave the ribbon again and launch a water whirlwind. At this moment, a villain with horns was floating towards Zhou Shantian. He was surprised that such a nonentity could shake up the sea. The villain decided to start attacking Zhou Shantian. He launched his forces towards the guy. Zhou Shantian was surprised at such a fast speed. To control the water flows he needs to spend a lot of energy, a little more and he will run out of it. The villain created water oculi with his powers and directed them towards Zhou Shantian. The guy protected himself with a barrier. He sent the water sharks back to the villain, who was very surprised by such an unusual technique. The villain did not understand how it was possible that the guy directed his attack against himself. The villain realized that Zhou Shantian does not use his superpower like other heroes. It is probably some kind of supernatural power. Zhou Shantian pointed his red ribbon towards the villain and demanded the immediate release of Chen Xingxuan and the heroes he had captured. The villain grabbed the ribbon. He realized that it was the key to his strength. The villain was surprised that at such a young age the guy decided to come here alone. The villain created water snakes with his power. He advised the guy to give up this boring dream of becoming a hero. Zhou Shantian realized that the strength of this villain was great. The water snake was heading towards Zhou Shantian and tried to bite him. Zhou Shantian said that since the villain wanted it, the guy would give him a red ribbon. The villain thought that without this thing, Zhou Shantian would not be able to control the flow of water. The villain with horns tried to tear the young man's red ribbon, but he failed. This was Zhou Shuentian's plan for him to take the ribbon in his hands. At that moment he began to use his powers. At Zhou Shuentian's command, the tape instantly wrapped the villain in a cocoon. The guy already thought that he had won. However, the next moment, the cocoon began to gradually unwind, and the villain burst out of it. The villain swam out and said that he could not be stopped with a simple rag. Zhou Shantian was very surprised that his plan did not work. The villain floated towards Zhou Shantian and touched his chest. He was about to use the dragon claw swing technique. The villain's move had no effect on Zhou Shantian. He couldn't believe that the guy didn't have any injuries. The villain began to try his technique again and again. He hit the guy's chest many times. Zhou Shantian was surprised that these were S-tier attacks. It was not enough to hit the guy. Now it was Zhou Shuentian's turn to show his skills as he swam into battle. Zhou Shantian swung his ribbon again to hit the villain. Zhou Shantian thought that the villain's weapon was too powerful and it was necessary to cast a spell and catch him. Treasure alone could not help him. Shi Wangmu was worried about Zhou Shantian. She told him not to go there. There was something there that limited the flow of the guy's spiritual energy. A protective barrier had appeared in the water, and once Zhou Shantian entered this spell, he would not be able to use his immortal power, but would only be able to rely on magic weapons. The villain was still trying to defeat the guy. He said that he would not leave. With such a barrier, it was not surprising that all these heroes fell here. However, as long as Zhou Shantian had the robe on, he could not die and he had one more ace up his sleeve. Zhou Shantian still decided to go inside the barrier to save the heroes. The guy believed that he was doing what he should. He smiled slyly. The villain sent a water dragon at the guy. He believed that Zhou Shantian had been caught. Zhou Shantian was going to first pretend that he couldn't use his weapon so that the villain would catch him. Zhou Shantian did as he planned, the dragon attacked the guy. The guy laughed and said that even though he couldn't use his weapon, the villain still wouldn't kill him. The villain said that the guy would not be able to escape, because without his abilities he is weaker than a fish in the sea. The villain used a water ball to catch the guy. Zhou Shantian pretended to be surprised by these actions. The villain will allow Zhou Shantian to see with her own eyes what these heroes look like after they lose their abilities. The villain brought Zhou Shantian into a guarded room and said that he would stay here. Tomorrow the villain was going to show the guy how these heroes lose their superpowers. 5 minutes later the outside of the room was empty. The guy was going to turn this base upside down. It's time to use the magic bracelet to get out of there. Zhou Shantian threw the bracelet into the air and told it to open. The bracelet worked instantly, and a passage opened in the wall. Zhou Shantian stepped out of the portal in the wall. He looked around and thought it was a good thing. Zhou Shantian again threw the bracelet at the wall of another room. He was looking for his girlfriend. However, there was no one in this room either. He wondered where Qin Xingxuan was. On the ground floor in room A, 2 heroes were sitting. They realized that something was blocking their abilities. One of them was the S-class hero, Shi Miao. His sister was an S-class hero, Sai Ren. The girl believed that without abilities they would not be able to get out of there. The girl was very upset that she had not gone on air for several days and she might lose her fans. Zhou Shantian kept trying to find Qin Xingxuan. He used a bracelet on one of the walls. Zhou Shantian saw these 2 heroes in this room. He thought that they were ordinary people and was going to save them later. Zhou Shantian only had 1 room left to check. It was the largest. He threw the bracelet at the wall of the room. Behind it hung Nian Dongxia, tied to the wall. Nimble Man also saw the guy in the wall. The man was still alive. Zhou Shantian was very happy. He finally found what he was looking for. The hero woke up. He asked who the guy was, if the Hero Association sent him to save the man. Zhou Shantian replied that he was Qin Xingxuan's classmate and he was here to save Nian Dongxia. The man felt bad. He asked the guy who he was, whether this was his superpower. Zhou Shantian replied that this was true. He asked if Nimble Man knew where Qin Xingxuan was being held. The hero was angry. He didn't know that his daughter was here too. He was going to get out of this trap and make them pay. Zhou Shantian was about to help him. He wanted to throw a bracelet at the barrier. The barrier was unusual. Zhou Shantian could not break it on his own. Moreover, if Nimble Man gets out, it will cause alarm. Now the hero could not use his powers and if the guy saves him, then he will only become a burden. The man said that he had an important task for Zhou Shantian, and since the guy managed to sneak in here, he would definitely handle it. Zhou Shantian was determined. He asked what he needed to do. Inside this base there was some kind of device that disables superpowers and if Zhou Shantian breaks it, the heroes will be able to get out. Zhou Shantian wondered where this device could be. Nimble Man knew that his work required a power supply system and there would be heavy security near the device. The guy would have to destroy the power system directly. Zhou Shantian understood everything. He went to carry out Nimble Man's task. The guards near the device were drunk. They were going to sneak in and have a good time. The guards believed that one of the heroes was a popular woman and was much better than the girl their boss caught last night. Drunk guards entered Sai Ren's cell and called the girl to come have fun with them. Sai Ren was very angry. She had no intention of going with these men. The guard said that now without her powers she is just a weak woman and cannot resist them. Shi Miao stood up for his sister. He said that he would not allow these animals to harm her. One of the guards kicked the guy. Shi Miao flew to the side. The guard said that today they should have fun with an S-tier heroine. This is a delicacy. The rest of the guards agreed with him. They looked at the girl with a smile. Sai Ren called them shameless. The girl swung her leg at the guards. The man said that the more the girl resists, the more they rejoice. He grabbed Sai Ren's leg. At this moment, Zhou Shantian opened a portal in the wall of the room using a bracelet. He instantly flew up to the guard and punched him in the face. He flew to the side. Zhou Shantian asked if it was normal for a guard to bully a mother like that in front of a child. Sai Ren was very angry after hearing Zhou Shuantian's words. She screamed and asked who the guy called mother. Was she really that old? Her brother asked the girl to calm down. Zhou Shantian said that time is precious and this group of guards must be dealt with first. The girl threw her magic bracelet at them. It knocked 3 guards off their feet at once. Sai Ren realized that the guy had a treasure in his hand, but he shouldn't have that much strength to use it. Now nothing will bother the two of them. Zhou Shantian has created a new communication channel through which they can always contact the guy. Zhou Shantian gave the girl a walkie-talkie. She thanked the guy and asked if he was a member of the Hero Association. Zhou Shantian replied that he was just a student who happened to pass by. The guy had other things to do and it was time for him to go. Zhou Shantian opened a portal in the door using a magic bracelet and dived into it. The portal in the door was already closing. Sai Ren was very surprised that Zhou Shantian just left like that. All the guy's actions were broadcast on the cameras of the underwater base. The guards must have seen that the two heroes escaped, and Zhou Shantian helped them. A security guard was sleeping at the camera control panel. He was not watching what was happening. Another man entered the room with cameras and saw that his colleague was not performing his duties. The man hit the guard on the head and asked who allowed him to sleep on the job, because none of these heroes should escape. The guard saluted the man. The man walked up to the camera screens and looked at them. On one of the screens, the man noticed Zhou Shantian sitting around the corner. He didn't understand how Zhou Shantian managed to escape from his cell. The man was about to check. He told the guard to raise the alarm and immediately report it to the boss. There was a camera hanging above the young man, which showed all his actions on the screen of the guards. The other two keepers were talking to each other. They were bored and wanted to go have some fun. Zhou Shantian finally found which room to go to. It was right behind the two guards. At this moment, the alarms suddenly went up throughout the entire base. Everything around was glowing red. Zhou Shantian was surprised. The guards noticed the guy. They had machine guns in their hands and they instantly ran towards him. The guards noticed the guy. They had machine guns in their hands and they instantly ran towards him. Zhou Shantian thought that there was nothing wrong with this, because he was strong. The guy threw his magic bracelet at them. The bracelet was knocked off the feet of one of the guards, and he flew away from the guy. Zhou Shantian was overjoyed as he used the same technique again and threw the bracelet at the second guard. The man screamed in pain. The bracelet hit him right on the torso. Zhou Shantian successfully dealt with the two guards. They lay defeated on the floor of the corridor. Zhou Shantian went to the door that interested him. He opened it. The guy entered the room for power equipment. He believed that this was exactly the place he needed. Zhou Shantian looked at the large device. He thought that now he just needed to destroy it. Suddenly, at that moment, a security guard attacked the guy from behind. He shouted that he should go to hell. The guard was armed with a spear. He tried to pierce the guy with it, but felt an obstacle in his way. Zhou Shantian was protecting some kind of protective barrier. The guard was unable to break through it. The Depth Lord thought this was very strange. He was looking at Zhou Shuantian's red ribbon in his office. The material of the fabric was obviously not much different from normal, but the man did not understand why it was so elastic. The Lord of the Deep thought that the people from Cthulhu would send some specialists today. They had studied a lot in this area and would give answers. The villain believed that it was impossible to make the sea do everything he wanted with just a piece of cloth. At that moment, the man noticed a general alarm and a siren screamed. He didn't understand what was happening. One of the guards ran into the room of the Lord of the Depths. At this time, his boss was having fun with the red ribbon in the room. The guard was surprised at this sight. The Lord of the Depths calmed down. He asked what was the matter and what had happened. The guard, looking frightened, said that the child who was captured had escaped. The villain was very angry. In his opinion, this guy couldn't even use his superpowers. How could he escape? The Lord of the Depths ordered all the soldiers to remain in their places. He was personally going to check everything. An angry man walked down the corridor. He couldn't believe that this guy went to the power equipment room. Maybe he knows the secret of this place. The man thought that if the heroes ran away, Cthulhu's people would skin him, so he had to stop Zhou Shantian. The guard who fought with Zhou Shantian did not understand why the guy could still use superpowers, because their device worked. Zhou Shantian smiled and looked at the guard. He was about to reveal his secret. The guy said that he was a bug and threw the magic bracelet right in the guard's face. The bracelet also touched the device that suppresses superpowers, and many explosions were heard. Zhou Shantian was very pleased with himself. He considered that the task was completed and the heroes could now be saved. At this time, a submarine was approaching the underwater base. There was a girl with glasses sitting in it. She thought it was strange that the border of the device had disappeared and it shouldn't be like that. Also on the boat were May Kate and Chi Ursi, members of Cthulhu. They began to think that the captured heroes could escape. The girl with glasses replied that the situation had changed. She ordered Chi Urxi to go with her to check the device and Mei Kate to check the heroes. The girl with glasses and Chi Urxi went to check the device, a superpower suppressor. Chi Urxi walked to the door opening the room and put his palm on it for identification. There appears to be a problem with the power supply system. The girl ordered to immediately restore power to this device. She hoped that the heroes did not notice the return of their abilities. Chi Urxi said to leave it to him. He used his powers to bring back the electricity. There were electric discharges all around, everything around was glowing. This was the man's power. The next moment, an explosion suddenly sounded, throwing Chi Urxi away. The girl with glasses was very surprised, she did not expect this at all. The culprit of the explosion was Nian Dongxia. His strength returned to the man, he finally found those who were behind it. The girl said to leave Nimble Man to her, and Chi Urxi had to grab the other heroes. Chi Urxi understood his task and began to carry out the girl's order. Nimble Man was flying straight towards the girl. He asked if she could stop him. She replied that it was difficult to say for sure. The girl used the life stone technique. On the second underground floor of the base was Zhou Shantian. He searched all the floors, but still could not find Chen Xingxuan. At that moment, the Lord of the Depths was about to attack him from behind the guy's back. Zhou Shantian noticed that something was wrong and danger was approaching him. The villain threatened that this time he would break the guy's limbs so that he could no longer escape. The villain activated his power and directed it straight towards the guy. Zhou Shantian did not expect this, but looked at the villain in surprise and thought about what to do. Zhou Shantian still managed to react quickly and duck down. He remained intact. The Lord of the Depths was angry that the guy dodged his attack. Zhou Shantian wanted to take the villain to another place. He said that he would have to catch up with him first and ran away. Zhou Shantian threw his bracelet at the wall and ordered him to open a portal. Zhou Shantian jumped into the portal in the door. The villain was surprised that this child could still use abilities. The villain smiled slyly and thought that this was just enough to kill him. Zhou Shantian came out on the second underground floor of the base through a portal. His portal in the wall closed after the guy. The guy was surprised by what he saw. Siren and Shimiao were fighting there against the wanted criminal Mei Kate. Zhou Shantian didn't know who they were fighting against. The guy looked at it in surprise. Siren revealed who Mei Kate was. She was rescued from the prison island by the Cthulhu organization. The girl used arrows and a bow for her attack. They headed towards the criminal, planning to attack her. Mei Kate couldn't believe that there were people here who didn't know her. Zhou Shantian ran away. He had not yet dealt with the Depth King, and then another problem arose. Mei Kate noticed Zhou Shantian. She said that it seemed like there was a little mouse there. The girl unexpectedly attacked the guy with her ridge. Zhou Shantian dodged. Shimiao shouted to Zhou Shantian to be careful. He sent his forces to help him. Shimiao made a protective barrier between Zhou Shantian and Mei Kate out of ice. Shimiao excitedly asked if Zhou Shantian was injured. Zhou Shantian was grateful to the guy for saving him. He replied that he was fine. Mei Kate was angry that her attack didn't work against Zhou Shantian. Siren told Zhou Shantian to be careful and warned that this woman was very fast. Zhou Shantian thought that it looked like they needed to find a way to restrict her movements. At this moment, Zhou Shantian came up with an idea on how to implement this plan. Zhou Shantian threw his magic bracelet at her. It flew straight at the criminal. Mei Kate believed that Zhou Shantian did not pose any threat to her. She easily knocked off the bracelet. However, she did not understand what this magical device was capable of. The girl was surprised. The power of the bracelet began to envelop the criminal. She could not resist it. The bracelet sucked Mei Kate inside and imprisoned her there. The girl could not move. Zhou Shantian shouted to his allies that they could now attack her. Zhou Shantian shouted to his allies that they could now attack her. Shimiao concentrated and directed his ice attack at Mei Kate. Siren did the same. She quickly threw arrows from a magic bow at the criminal. Mei Kate was bound by Zhou Shuentian's bracelet, unable to dodge the hero's attacks. Chi Urxi was already running to help his friend. He heard the sounds of battle coming from behind the doors. The hero's attacks were so strong that Mei Kate broke through the wall and flew out. Right behind her was Siren. The girl knocked him down while she was flying. Zhou Shantian was very pleased that the guys killed 2 birds with 1 stone. The villains lay on the ground unconscious. Zhou Shantian ordered his bracelet back. The villains looked at him in surprise. Shi Miao and Sai Ren also did not understand what was happening and who this guy with such powers was. Shi Miao didn't feel any superpower from him, but he can use such unexpected techniques. At that moment, a loud explosion was heard in the corridor, the wall exploded. Zhou Shantian looked in the direction of the explosion in surprise, he did not expect such a turn of events. The wall was broken through by the King of the Depths, he finally found Zhou Shantian. Zhou Shantian was afraid that they had made a lot of noise and that villain had found him. Sai Ren said that the guy doesn't have superpowers and isn't a member of the Hero Association, so he should just stay behind them. Zhou Shantian thanked him and said that on the battlefield, the enemy would not let him go, simply because he did not have superpowers. Moreover, the Lord needed Zhou Shantian, he got ready and went straight to the villain. The guys thought this guy was really impressive. In this case, Shi Miao asked Zhou Shantian to let him help. The guy began to attack the villain with his ice technique, but he repelled all attacks. The King of the Depths ordered not to stand in his way, the villain threw the guy away with his strength. Zhou Shantian burst into the battle next, he declared that the villain was now his. The guy used the cloud-piercing finger technique to attack his opponent. Zhou Shuentian's power passed through the villain and destroyed everything in its path, it was a very powerful attack. Zhou Shantian was surprised that he actually did this. However, the villain was not defeated, he said that the guy forced him to do this, the man really underestimated Zhou Shantian. The Lord of the Depths turned into a huge dragon who wanted to eat the guys. Sai Ren ordered not to stop and continue to attack, she and her brother began to use their techniques. They sent ice blocks and arrows straight towards the monster, but they were ineffective. The dragon's scales were too strong to be penetrated by their forces. The next moment, the dragon sent the ball of its powers towards Zhou Shantian, he would not have time to dodge. Unexpectedly, Zhou Shantian protected Sai Ren, she stood right in front of the guy and took the entire blow on herself. Sai Ren was seriously injured, Zhou Shantian ran up to her and asked if the girl was okay. Shi Miao was also lying on the ground, they were both defeated, the guy doesn't understand what to do. The guy had two options, he could give the villain his weapon and tell him his secret, in which case the villain would quickly kill him, or he would cut off his limbs so that the guy could not use these things. Zhou Shantian turned to Shi Wangmu for help, he asked if there was any other way to use this bracelet. The girl replied that the bracelet has other uses, but if the guy uses it, he will be very exhausted. Zhou Shantian doubted Shi Wangmu's words, he did not want to lose to his opponent and decided to use the bracelet after all. At that moment, the guy had two bracelets in his hand, they lit up with a yellow flame. Zhou Shantian threw them at the enemy and said that he would have to give his life to take the guy's things. The dragon said that this thing would not affect him, he was confident in his abilities. Zhou Shantian glared at his opponent, he declared that this was not the end. The guy started throwing duplicate bracelets at the dragon. The dragon laughed and said that there was no point in duplicating them, the guy wouldn't even be able to touch him with a finger. Zhou Shantian grinned slyly and asked how about 10. At this moment, the number of bracelets increased significantly, they all flew towards the dragon, trying to inflict damage on it. The bracelets bound the dragon's body so that he could move more. Zhou Shantian used a lot of strength and energy to defeat the enemy, the guy was exhausted. The bracelet squeezed the dragon's body more and more, and he asked Zhou Shantian to stop. Shi Wangmu thought that Zhou Shantian was smart and came up with the idea of using duplicates to trap the King of the Deep. Zhou Shuentian's aura was overwhelmed, his legs were giving way, but he refused to let go of his opponent. The Depth King shouted, he believed that he had to kill Zhou Shongshan. Zhou Shantian was going to see if the dragon would kill him first or if he would instead tie him up himself. Shi Wangmu stopped the guy, she said that this dragon has a strong aura and if he signs a spiritual contract with him, it will be of great benefit. Zhou Shantian said that his opponent had two options, either he would be Zhou Shuentian's spirit beast or he would turn into puree meat. Zhou Shantian increased the pressure of the bracelets so that the dragon would give an answer, he gave in and agreed to sign the contract. So he wanted to pretend to obey Zhou Shantian, and then find a chance to defeat him. The guy began to use his power to conclude a contract with the King of the Deep. Everything around him began to flicker yellow, the contract began to be signed. Zhou Shantian completely subjugated himself to the King of the Depths, he mounted him and was very pleased with it. At that moment, an explosion sounded at the door of the room, and someone demolished it. It was Nimble Man, He was carrying on his shoulder a girl with glasses, whom he had defeated in the previous battle. Zhou Shantian was very happy that Nian Dongxia was okay. Nimble Man moved the other people to safety and thanked the guy for his work. He was going to take all the villains to their headquarters. Zhou Shantian was very happy that everything ended well. He thought that the man was worthy of being his idol. Suddenly, something suddenly rushed near Nimble Man. The man did not have time to react. Blood gushed out, Nian Dongxia's hand was torn off and the girl was taken from his shoulder. Zhou Shantian was shocked, he didn't know what to do or what happened. The guys were attacked by a girl with a heart on her eye. She said that she didn't want to open her hand, but the S-class hero turned out to be fragile. Nimble Man tried to heal his wound. The man was bleeding and did not know what to do. Zhou Shantian instantly ran to Nian Dongxia. The guy asked if the man was okay. Nimble Man shouted at Zhou Shantian not to come over. This woman was very strong. The woman smiled slyly. She held an unconscious girl with glasses on her shoulder. Nimble Man was surprised that she was able to quietly appear behind him. The other heroes were injured. The guys needed to finish this fight as soon as possible. Nimble Man began to attack the woman with his remaining hand. He created a whirlwind. The woman attacked the hero in response. Yellow energy appeared from her hands. She absorbed Nimble Man's energy. The woman had the ability to control magma. Thus, the woman defeated Nimble Man. She said that the first hero was ready. The woman put the girl with glasses on the floor. She was still unconscious. The woman angrily said that there were 2 more heroes left. She approached Shi Miao and was about to deal with him. However, someone repelled her attack. A luminous force appeared, and the girl was surprised. Zhou Shantian entered into battle with her. He told her not to dare to do this. The king of the depths stood behind him. Zhou Shantian shouted angrily that it was his turn now. He was determined to win this battle. The woman laughed. She didn't understand how such a helpless rat like a guy ended up here. Zhou Shantian ordered his dragon, Xiao Hai, to save these 2, and he would find a way to save Nian Dongxia. The dragon obeyed his master. He roared loudly and began to act. The dragon took Sai Ren into its mouth and tried to carry her to safety. He screamed at the bad woman to go to hell. The dragon's huge paws were approaching the woman from above. She began to attack the dragon with magma and said that the pawn should do what she was ordered. The magma was very hot. The dragon screamed in pain while the woman scorched him. Zhou Shantian ordered the dragon to return. He ran to the aid of Nimble Man. The dragon understood him. He instantly evaporated and avoided reprisals against himself. A woman appeared right in front of Zhou Shantian and asked the guy's name. Zhou Shantian was surprised at how quickly she appeared. The woman said the guy's eyes reminded her of a couple surnamed Zhou whom she killed 10 years ago and threw their bodies into the car like trash. The guy seemed to have been electrocuted. He was dumbfounded and remembered the events of 10 years ago. All this time, the guy thought that his parents died due to a car accident. However, in reality, the people of Cthulhu, in particular this woman, are to blame for their deaths. Zhou Shantian was furious. He said that the woman had better clarify what she said. The woman instantly moved behind the guy. She leaned towards him and asked what would happen if she didn't do this. At that moment, an incomprehensible force appeared behind the woman's back. The woman turned around and looked at her. The woman moved in an instant. She dodged the force and hung in the air. The woman moved in an instant. She dodged the force and hung in the air. Nimble Man tried to attack the woman. He could barely stand on his feet, but did not bother to fight. The man ordered the guys to leave the battle with the woman to him. Zhou Shantian said that Nimble Man was very seriously injured, so he should let him fight. Shi Miao enveloped Zhou Shuantian's body with his powers. He apologized and said it was for the guy's safety. He dragged Zhou Shantian along to the door. The guy said that they should return alive. Zhou Shantian demanded to untie him. He asked if Nimble Man was not their colleague of the Hero Association. How could they leave him and run away? Shi Miao cried as he ran to the door. He said that the guy had not forgotten any of this, but he knew very well what the duty of a hero was. The guys are all running out of strength. If they stay here they will all die. Shi Miao turned around and looked at Zhou Shantian. He said that now the guys are too weak to resist such an opponent. Zhou Shantian was in a stupor. He realized that his idol could soon die and sacrifice himself. The woman fought the hero. She used her magma power and said that no one could escape from here. Nimble Man created many copies of himself as the guys ran towards the exit. Nimble Man and all his copies bravely ran into battle. they attacked the woman with their strength. The hero asked him to tell his daughter so that she would not forget to eat on time and should not be upset if she could not use her abilities. The man said that as long as she had a brave heart, she would still be a hero. Zhou Shantian still wanted to stay there. The guy clenched his teeth, he was very angry with himself and the villains. The guy said that he would definitely convey this to her. The battle was very fierce, the woman fought with Nimble Man, but her powers were too great. Nimble Man was defeated, he was chained to a large iron cross and immobilized. The woman sighed and said that she had let a couple of mice go, her boss would pick on her again. Evening came, the guys were already safe on the ground. There was news of a hero kidnapping incident that lasted for many days. The Hero Association sent reinforcements and destroyed the deep-sea base. The announcer said that except for Nian Dongxia, everyone was successfully rescued. Zhou Shantian listened to the news with her sister. Yun Shu put a peeled apple for her brother on the nightstand next to the bed. Zhou Shantian had not uttered a word since he returned and continued to be in this state. The girl was very worried about his condition. Zhou Shantian kept thinking about Nian Dongxia, he could not come to his senses. Zhou Shantian kept replaying moments from the past in his head, Nimble Man's noble sacrifice. Zhou Shantian believed that he was too weak and blamed herself for abandoning the hero. Shi Wangmu asked if Zhou Shantian was going to be depressed forever like this. The guy replied that since he started learning the immortal technique, he discovered that it was more powerful than superpowers. The guy thought that there was nothing in the world that he could not achieve, he never thought about his own limitations. Zhou Shantian believed that if he continued to be reckless as before, he would not be able to protect anyone. Zhou Shantian asked Shi Wangmu to teach him to become stronger, the guy was determined. Zhou Shantian came to Chen Xingxuan's room and conveyed her father's last words to her. Chen Xingxuan replied that her father is really a fool and really likes to show off. Zhou Shantian said that there were so many great heroes in the association and they would find a way to save her father. Chen Xingxuan said that there was no need to console her, she was going to rest and asked to be left alone. As soon as Zhou Shantian left, the girl clutched her blanket in her hands, she was clearly not okay. The girl was very afraid and worried about her father, her mental state was very unstable. As soon as Zhou Shantian left, the girl clutched her blanket in her hands, she was clearly not okay. The girl was very afraid and worried about her father, her mental state was very unstable. Chen Xingxuan kept remembering moments from the past with her father, he often came home late because of his exploits, he constantly saved people. Even on her birthday, Nimble Man came at night, he promised that next year they would definitely blow out the candles together. The girl was then upset, because her father told her this every year, she believed that her dad just got into trouble every day. Nimble Man smiled and replied that it was his duty to protect each of them and he hoped that one day his daughter would understand this. The man believed that responsibility is the glory of heroes. Chen Xingxuan clutched the blanket more and more tightly. The girl began to cry very bitterly for her father, she could not stop her emotions. Chen Xingxuan shouted that her father was truly a complete fool. Zhou Shantian stood outside the door of the ward, he heard Chen Xingxuan crying. The guy turned around and told Shi Wangmu that they needed to go and start cultivating. Shi Wangmu was going to be more strict with Zhou Shantian when the time came, he shouldn't have shouted that he was too tired and couldn't do it anymore, Zhou Shantian agreed. The guy was very angry and decided to destroy Cthulhu once and for all. Zhou Shantian and her mentor returned home, she asked why the guy was slowing down, he shouldn't have stopped. At this time, the guys were training, Zhou Shantian was doing push-ups while Shi Wangmu was sitting on him, Zhou Shantian said that his mentor was too heavy, the girl didn't think so. Shi Wangmu was forcing the guy to train under ultra-high pressure these days, the girl couldn't believe that the guy could bear it. The girl told Zhou Shantian to stand up, she was going to teach him something. Shi Wangmu snapped her fingers, they appeared in her spiritual world and flew up. The girl was going to teach Zhou Shantian a unique secret technique, the tactical immortal technique. Zhou Shantian didn't know what it was. One application of this technique was for a person to rely on a spiritual contract to transfer the powers of the imprisoned beast into spiritual power that the guy could use within himself. However, there is a limit to signing a contract with its current development, and the more contacts signed, the harder it will be for a guy to hold them back and they will simply break it. The second application is direct absorption, the stronger the object that the guy absorbs the more spiritual power he will receive, however this comes with more risk. Shi Wangmu suggested that they try. Zhou Shuntian should try to use spiritual power to attract hundreds of spiritual energy balls towards him like a magnet. Zhou Shuntian should also be able to feed all these balls into himself. The guy was very confident in his abilities. He began to try a new technique. A few days later, at the School of Superpowers in the duel arena, a duel between Zhou Shuntian and Wang Jiron was supposed to take place. Wang Jiron told Zhou Shuntian that he had been missing for so many days that he thought the guy was hiding to avoid their argument. Zhou Shuntian apologized and said that it was very difficult to remember the garbage. Wang Zirong should have stopped talking nonsense and started taking action. Wang Jiron said that in this case, the guy would cry in fear. He had studied a lot in recent days and made full use of his monetary power to defeat Zhou Shuntian. Wang Zirong's ability allowed him to summon a powerful ghost beast of equal strength at the cost of money. His budget for today was 100 million. The young man summoned a huge monster. For the first time, his subordinates saw their boss summon this thing. They couldn't even imagine how much it costs to operate it. This beast was immune to physical attacks. Wang Zirong's monster hit the ground with all its strength. Zhou Shuntian managed to jump away. The guy tried to dodge the repeated attacks of the monsters, who hit the ground with his fists. Zhou Shuntian tried to defend himself. The monster attacked the guy directly in the forehead and was very powerful. Wang Jiron told the guy that he shouldn't just run away, it's better to start fighting. Zhou Shuntian realized that this guy was too tough and it was impossible to use the immortal technique to absorb him directly. In this case, Zhou Shuntian was going to first cut the monster into pieces and then absorb it. Zhou Shuntian used his immortal technique to cut the monster into pieces. He cut off its arms. Wang Jiron was shocked by the guy's strength. He didn't understand what to do. Shi Wangmu was very pleased with Zhou Shuntian's result, because he quickly realized that the monster's weakness was in its joints. Zhou Shuntian continued to slash at the monster, sending out waves of his energy to hit his opponent. The monster was cut into small pieces. Its arms, body and legs flew off. Zhou Shuntian was going to use the Taotic Devourer technique next. He created a ball of energy in his hand. The energy from Zhou Shuntian's ball went straight to the monster's remains and began to absorb it. Wang Jiron was shocked by Zhou Shuntian's strength. He clearly did not expect the opponent to be so powerful. Wang Zirong could only watch as Zhou Shuntian devoured his monster to the last piece. The guy smiled and said that it was a pleasure to fight with Wang Jiron. Viewers were surprised that a transfer student who received an S on the test defeated the monster. They believed that his superpowers were very strong. Shi Wangmu remembered how she and her boyfriend trained a new technique. Zhou Shuntian was in the spiritual space, with a ball of energy flying above him. Zhou Shuntian only had to absorb the last ball of spiritual energy. He was going to do it no matter what. The guy made every effort to master the new technique. The ball flew to his hand. Zhou Shuntian looked at his hand. It contained that very last ball of spiritual energy. The guy was very happy that he was able to do this and master a new technique. Shi Wangmu said that the guy did a good job and now he can rest. Zhou Shuntian asked the master to add 100 balls again next time. He needed to double his practice. Shi Wangmu was very surprised at the guy's confident and decisive attitude. Zhou Shuntian not only mastered the Taotic technique in a short time, but his strength is much more stable than during training. Zhou Shuntian defeated Wang Jiron. He said that the guy seemed to be unlucky. The winner was determined. Zhou Shuntian said that the previous punishment of calling him dad was cancelled, and he did not want to have a son who could not fight. Wang Jiron was extremely angry at Zhou Shuntian's words and wanted to take revenge on the young man. The guys watching him talked and said that he had lost all his money and reputation. It seemed that his parents now did not recognize him. Wang Jiron was very upset by his defeat. It was a blow to his pride. Someone has landed at the Cthulhu experimental base above the North Sea. This creature flew straight to the experimental base. It had wings. At the base stood the boss Cthulhu Isogd. He said that the arrival was 2 minutes late. The creature that landed was the King of Gravity, an S-class monster. He said that he was very busy. If it weren't for Miss Mona's face, he wouldn't even come to this place. And then he got angry and said that the monster should know that he never had the habit of waiting for someone. The Gravity King got angry and turned away from the boss. Miss Mona invited the monster to look at this plan. She is sure that he will be interested in seeing it. The plan was to create chaos and make Natsu Island disappear. The monster found the plan interesting, but such a dangerous mission would cost them 3 times more than a normal one. The Gravity King believed that the chaos he would create would definitely shake the world, and then the eyes of the entire world would be focused on him. The King of Gravity said that if the plan succeeds, he hopes that Miss Mona will accompany him and will not refuse to drink with him. The girl replied that if he succeeded, she would think about it. She adjusted her glasses. The King of Gravity flew away and said that he would prepare, and they could only wait for good news from him. Miss Mona asked the boss after the mission was over if she could gouge out his eyes. The boss agreed. Meanwhile, in the Cthulhu laboratory, Nimble Man was being tortured. He was given electric shocks. They tried to extract his superpowers, but the hero continued to use his psychic power to resist it. Isagda said that everyone should remember that there is no room for errors in their program. The woman with the heart in her eyes said that she met a teenager who was somewhat similar to Dr. Joe, and she thinks there is some kind of connection between them. The girl's name was Anna. The boss grabbed her by the neck and asked if there was a leak of information during the operation. And then, with an intimidating look, he said that her head would be on her neck for now and she had to go and deal with it, otherwise he would take it off the girl's neck at any moment. A few days later, the weather was hot and the sun was shining brightly on the summer island. Xia Ji-chi sat on the beach and sunbathed. The girl was in a swimsuit. She felt that Chen Xingxuan had changed a lot since recovering from her loss. Her energy had become steady and more focused. When the teacher set the task of destroying rank B monsters, she completed it in just 2 days. Chen Xingxuan told Zhou Shantian that she would go surfing, and the girl happily ran into the water. It only took Zhou Shantian 1 day to complete the task. Xia Ji-chi thought that something must have happened between these two. Shi Wangmu told Zhou Shantian that this nearby mountain was very rich in spiritual energy and he should go there to cultivate. One of the students told Mia to look there. There is a Chinese-style gazebo on the summer island. The girl was the twin sister of Xian Mia and the daughter of the Prime Minister of the world. Her twin sister Xian Dia said that her flaming eyes could see through 1,000 miles and she could not make a mistake. The girls went to the gazebo. Zhou Shantian was sitting in the gazebo. He was practicing his cultivation skills and was completely enveloped in energy. It was very difficult for Zhou Shantian to stay focused in such heat, because his robe did not dissipate the heat and the gazebo was not cool enough. At that moment, snowflakes fell from the sky. The guy was very surprised, since it was summer. A second later, everything around froze. Blocks of ice appeared around the gazebo. Xian Dia and Xian Mia ran towards the gazebo. The girls noticed the gazebo. At that moment a storm began. Waves raged on the sea, lightning flashed. Dia slipped on the ice while she was running. The girl was very scared and lost her balance. She flew straight towards Zhou Shantian, who shouted at her to be careful and was about to catch her. Zhou Shantian caught Dia by the shoulder. He apologized and said that he did not touch the girl on purpose. Zhou Shantian asked if she was okay and what kind of earthquake this was. The guy thought all this was strange. A thunderstorm raged around. The island slowly rose from the water into the sky. Vacationers on the island did not understand what was happening. They noticed that the island was rising. People were screaming for help. The King of Gravity was behind all this. He had flown to the island and was going to put his plan into action magnificently.